go live on YouTube as well. Dr. Phil has folks on social media dragging him to hell after he said providing cash reparations for slavery would be an absolute disaster during an episode of his talk show on April 18th. The talk show host made the statement after economist and Duke University professor William A. Darity Jr. said that 14 trillion should be distributed evenly to the 40 million black descendants of slavery in America, or $350,000 per person. The payments would be an attempt to help eliminate the wealth disparity between black and white Americans, which he said is about $840,000. Darity co-authored the book From Here to Equality: Reparations for Black Americans in the 21st Century. Darity noted that the government could pay the funds in a way similar to how federal payments were distributed during the COVID-19 pandemic. It would be paid by the federal government in the same way in which federal government has met the expenses that were paid for the purposes of trying to deal with the Great Recession, and also most recently with the economic downturn associated with the Great Pandemic, he said. Civil rights activist Bob Woodson also appeared on Dr. Phil and disagreed with Darity. When you go into slavery, it's much more complex, and all white people were the oppressors and black people were the victims, Woodson said. If you dissect it, you'll find there were about 3,700 free blacks who owned 12,000 slaves, black slaves. The question is, do the descendants of those free slaves who owned black slaves, do they pay? Blacks really benefited more the first 100 years after slavery than we have in the last 50 years, he added. Darity responded that the federal government paid reparations to families after slavery, but reneged on their promise of 40 acres and a mule to each black family. There's substantial history in the United States government providing financial assets to white citizens when it did not provide similar assets to black citizens, said Darity. The U.S. government gave 1.5 million white families in the United States 160-acre land grants in the Western Territories under the Homestead Act of 1860. That was a transfer that has resulted in a situation in which 45 million living white Americans are continuing to be beneficiaries of those land patents. Dr. Phil replied that giving any group of people $350,000 without guidance would be disastrous, and brought up the people who took advantage of the federal government's PPP loans as an example. I can tell you from a psychology perspective that if you take $350,000 or $840,000 and write a check to any group of people, black, white, poor, homeless, whatever, you give any group of people that much money and say, there you go, best of luck. You come back in 6 months, they're going to be broke, he said. Whatever reparations are done, that would be an absolute disaster, as opposed to guidance and help in creating generational wealth as opposed to income. Darity explained that no one is claiming that some people might not mismanage their money, but asserted that it was a point that wasn't the point, prompting Dr. Phil to retort, I just said that. I just said you give that money to anybody, they're going to mismanage it. They're going to blow it. Look at the fraud that just occurred with all the money that was given in support of COVID. Some viewers did not appreciate Dr. Phil reparations assessment and took to social media to drag the talk show host. Dr. Phil is an effing idiot. Cash reparations are owed. I don't give a F what anyone thinks about it. The laws allow. Crimes against humanity never expire. Wage theft is illegal. Black Americans are owed what was taken from us. F all of this talk. Cut the check. Let's be clear, responded another user. Why would anyone be asking the opinion of a white man about reparations when the slave owners like for slaves to be free? Someone answered, the point is Dr. Phil doesn't have to like it. We're owed a debt. Let us mess it up or not mess it up. It's ours. Another user reminded Dr. Phil about his production company's $7 million in PPP loans. His youngest son, Jordan McGraw, paid $10 million in cash for Beverly Hills mansion around the same time, but sources claim there is no connection. Why do some people feel the need to police black folks? If we get reparations and decide to burn it all in the furnace, that's our damn sick business, replied another user. Dr. Phil's got some nerve after Oprah put him on, said another user. So you can definitely tell Dr. Phil, like most white men are, because I've been going back and forth with the whole thing online with people about reparations. When you start talking about reparations, a lot of times you get white people deflecting. I've had a bunch of them talking about back in 50 BC and the Romans and the Gauls and this and that, and everybody in history has been slaves and this and that, and you let them know, like, well, that's not the point I'm talking about. I'm not talking about world history. I'm not talking about the Roman Empire. I'm not talking about the Greek Empire. I'm not talking about the Egyptian Empire. I'm talking about right here in the United States of America. There's only been one group of slaves. They want to put the Irish in it. They want to put other white ethnic groups in. They want to put Native Americans, but like, no, the United States did not become a sovereign nation until what, 1783, 1784. At no time, at any point during that time, can you find any documents for any other group that was slaves in this country except black people. There are no documents when this country became founded. I'm not talking about the colonial United States of America. There are no documents whatsoever that when the United States became a sovereign nation, that the Irish or the Italians or the Asians or the Latinos or any other group outside of black people were slaves in this country. So to sit up here and try to, when it's convenient, you want to go ahead and add world history into it, which a lot of white folks have been doing, and conveniently leave out American history is a problem. And Dr. Phil really didn't do anything different. I know a lot of people got upset, but Dr. Phil is doing what most white men are doing. Most white men do not believe that you should get a dollar. So whether he got put on by Oprah or he got put on by Aunt Jemima, Dr. Phil has been what white men are doing. He's doing what he's supposed to do. So I didn't take any offense because what else was he going to say? Dr. Phil is a white man from Texas who'll sit up here and tell you exactly how hard his ancestors had it when they came, because everybody in this country came in with just a shirt on their back. So it's always like, stop with the excuses, pull yourself up by your own bootstrap. Everybody got on the boat from Europe, came over here with a nickel to their name and only the shirt on their back, and miraculously within a generation was able to pull themselves up, or two generations or whatever. So I always find that story so entertaining to hear. Like, first off, you barely even had money. You had no money for the actual fare over here. You had no education. You couldn't speak the language. You couldn't do this, you couldn't do that, yet you was able to get you a job, you was able to find your place to live, you was able to get food in your belly, you was able to do all of this right here, and all you had was a shirt on your back. Tell us how you was able to do such a trick. Professor, what's up? You got it.
Yeah, thank you, Newstoter. Brother, you just spoke 100 right there, man. These talking points are the typical white supremacist male talking points. This is what we hear from them all the time. And the deal is, y'all, I'm tired of even seeing these folks speak on our reparations, including the tethers from the other nations, such as the Caribbeans, the Dominicans, the whatevers, man. They all coming into our spaces, coming into our threads, commenting on things that we are talking about. And if we are so much at the bottom of this totem pole, why do these other groups feel they have to come in and talk on our issues? See, this is what is really laughable to me, is that everybody wants to come in and speak on Black American issues. Yet they always talk about we ain't nothing. You know, why do we even pride ourselves on what we have done in this country? And the reason why, because we know we have done a lot in this country. Our ancestors built the nation. So, but let these other groups tell it, our ancestors didn't do anything. See? So, I just have to say, I don't even waste my time trying to dispute anything on this app anymore, because these folks know the truth. They know it. They just don't want Black Americans to have reparations. This is what we as a Black family have to understand, that other groups don't want us to get this because they know what we can do with it, okay? So I don't think we should waste our time arguing with these folks anymore. Now, and I've been all over the Twitter spaces today, looking at our family all over the spaces, all over the different threads, commenting on what white America has said about reparations, or some other groups like Mexicans or whatever, and they've been arguing back and forth with them. I don't waste my time with this, y'all. I don't think we need to do it. They know the answers. Hell, everybody has internet for the most part. Go look it up. Shit, I don't have to tell you shit. You know the answer. You know the truth. And that is that Black American helped build this nation. We built the damn nation. We built it. We're talking about American chattel slavery. We're not talking about world history. We're not talking about your damn Irish immigrant indentured servants. That's not slavery. That was indentured servants. So you can't put that into our situation. You can't put them into being slaves. We are talking about U.S. chattel slavery, or how we was done in this country. We're talking about our issues here in America. We don't care about what happened over in other places. We trying to deal with the country that abused our ancestors and continuing to abuse us to this very day. So, Black American family, I say to you now, if you wanted to keep arguing with these people on these threads and up in these spaces, go ahead. I wouldn't waste my time with doing it because they know the answers. I'm gonna land my plane there.
Professor, you right, and I have to say, and Queen B, I'm gonna let you go ahead and get up here too. I've been guilty of it too because man, for the past couple of days, I've been going back and forth. I know you saw the one black dude and that sit up there posting something. And I've been going back with him and his people. First off, the cat is not even American because I asked him when I asked, I said, well, are you even American? I said, well, if you're not American, I said, then you can go ahead and sign that waiver for to give up any right to having actual reparations. Because you got a lot of black people that's not even they're trying to win these brownie points. They're sitting up here kissing behind, telling white people stuff. When you can always find a Negro that's going to tell white people exactly what they want to hear because they know that's going to endear them to them. So you sitting up here talking about the Democrats and y'all sitting up here and the Democrats this or that or whatever. Reparations got nothing to do with no Democrats. But the fact of the matter, like I said, I asked this cat, was he a black American? He went all the way from A to Z. He never wanted to answer whatever. I've been going back and forth with these other white folks sitting up here talking about the Roman Empire and when they found what happened to slaves. There was more white slaves in North Africa that was taken than all of a million more that was here in the Americas and all this other stuff. And I was just simply, and I know I shouldn't even waste my breath. I simply tell them like, look, I'm talking about American history. This is what I'm focused on. And if you really want to go there, your people colonized 1/3 of this world. So don't even sit up here and tell me about how, I mean, you're right. You can sit up and say every group has been enslaved, and I'm not disputing that. Here in America, there's been one group of slaves, period. I'm tired of hearing the whole thing about the Irish. It's time to start refuting the whole thing about the Irish being slaves. The Irish came here as indentured servants. Some of them may have been taken against their will, but I surely don't think the vast majority of these Irish people was shanghaied or whatever and taken. They were in Europe and they were sitting up there drinking on the dock, and next thing you know, somebody put a sack over their head and threw them in a boat and brought them here to America. The vast majority of these people wanted to get away from Europe because they were in debt, they had criminal backgrounds, and they was looking to start a new life. The vast majority. That's not to say you didn't have some that came over here, but at the same time, the United States government never had the Irish enslaved. It never had the Italians enslaved. It never had the Polish enslaved. It never had any of these European groups enslaved. It never had the Latinos enslaved. It never had any single solitary person enslaved. So when I hear people go ahead and start using all these talking points, what they're really saying is that, nigga, we don't want to give you a dime or a dollar. We tired of hearing this. Shut up. That's what they're really saying. Because when you start talking about 50 BC, then I know you've out your damn mind. 50 BC. Nobody said anything about what went on in Rome or whatever, or these ancient kingdoms. You sitting up here talking about 50 and the Gauls and this and that. And I mean, man, what in the hell are you talking about? Like, what are you talking about? Nobody's even talking about that, mentioning that.
Newstoter, that's why you know it's crazy, dude, because ever since we've been talking about reparations, we've been talking about it in the form of what happened here. United States chattel slavery with the United States government allowed to happen here. I don't know why these people feel they have to go all over the world to talk about other things that don't concern what happened with the United States. This is what we're dealing with here. So this is why I don't waste my time trying to talk to these people, because they're going to make all these different excuses because they don't want to see Black Americans have reparations. And that's what it comes down to. So that's why I just don't bother with it, because they're going to come up with all these 50 million excuses like Dr. Bill, who shouldn't be speaking on it. And see, it was a Black American woman that helped put him in the spot that he's in. See, this is why we need to be slapping Oprah right here. Oprah, we need to slap you, see. See, that's what I'm talking about. You help some white man when you should be helping more of your own damn people. That's right. Oprah Winfrey.
And she helped Dr. Oz too.
Oh yeah, and Dr. Oz. See how she helped all these white men? See that's what I'm talking about. This is not what we need to be doing. We don't need to be helping them. These folks got help. They come into the country born with help because they got the skin for it, see? And they're born in this country because they because they born in this country with help because they got that skin. See, you come in this country or you born as a white male, you automatically gonna be at the top. White man from Europe or white male born here, you're gonna come in at the top. Okay, it's black people, and particularly the black people that are born here, that can't get anything. You know, and that's not to say that a lot of our people haven't made it to the top, because a lot of our people have been successful. Okay, let's get it right here. Now, a lot of black Americans have been successful in this country, and I'm very proud of those black Americans that have made it up there to the top. But we also need the black Americans at the top to also speak out on these issues, so everything can be addressed from top to bottom. Black Americans at the top, black Americans at the bottom, black Americans in the middle. All of us need to be on the same page, same way white America is. Okay. Now, with that being said, let me land my plane. I want to hear what everybody else have to say about this issue. I know we got Sister Queen B up in the house. Are you ready?
Sister Queen B, what's going on? You want to go ahead and add to the conversation?
Hey, yes. Good evening, Newstoter. Good evening, Professor.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing well today. I have to tell you though, sometimes I'm on Twitter and I'm listening to these discussions. I get a little depressed, you know. But anyway, fairly well, I should say. So yes, I would like to contribute to this conversation. Absolutely. I agree with everything that you said. Let me first start with Dr. Field. So I believe that people like Dr. Field have been given their marching orders to have these type of platforms and discussions as a part of a way to, sabotage or minimize our claim, or they know that we're picking up steam. So I think they have been giving their marching orders to say, okay, let's get out in front of all of this, because they have a national platform. I don't know what his audience size is, but they know he has a national platform, and let's make sure that we can stop this reparations thing out at all angles. Another thing I see going on here too is, the white people now are pretending like they're victims, or somehow they're the ones who are, the oppressed. And even I saw a very interesting tweet today, and I can't remember who the person was. She looked like she was one of the white Christian conservatives. I was basically saying she was retweeting, I believe it was a newspaper message or something about Black people owing white people reparations for, all of our crimes and rapes and basically the crimes that we've committed against them, So I'm starting to see, they're not only attacking us, because, was it a few weeks ago, this guy, Scott Adams, comes out, starts talking about how bad Black people are, we need to move away from them. And so I see something much more sinister. And I believe if it continues that it will even be dangerous, because I'm seeing now where they are, again, they're saying that we are the victimizers. And I believe all of this is being done as a way to not only minimize our claim, but somehow, where they should maybe take our freedoms away from us. So I believe Dr. Phil is just a start of probably one of many of these discussions that they will continue to have on a national level. So it's very interesting to me that we're experiencing what we're experiencing right now in terms of reparations. I've even seen, I know you were talking about Dr. Phil, but was it Bob Woodson or, so now I'm starting to see some Black Republicans that are getting out there and saying some weird stuff too. Saw something today where the lieutenant governor running for governor of the state of North Carolina is talking about we ought to be happy, and we don't deserve reparations, and we owe white people, that kind of thing. So it's just, the messaging is just not very good. But I do know where it's coming from. And I'm a person of faith, and I believe all these attacks are spiritual. I believe that they're very demonic. I believe that white folk know deep down in their heart, especially if their lineage is rooted in our chattel slavery, that we are due repair. And, we are due repair. And even when they come up with these arguments and excuses, the argument where they want to put it back on Black folk and say, well, its father was in a home. You don't have your fathers. You need to stop having these children out of wedlock. You need to just pull yourself up by your bootstraps. And, all of that punch down that they do, it's still at the end of the day, it's like, so you would pretty much admit there needs to be some repair then, but this, I just really believe it seems like it's coming at us at all angles now. And these immigrants, these people who are maybe second, third generation immigrants, they're the worst. But you know what? Like Professor said, and like you said, Newstoter, I'm to the point now where I'm not going to go back and forth with these people because it's just the losing battle. But where I think it's, and I'll say this, I don't know how popular it's going to be, is, we don't have the media to combat a lot of this stuff on the national level because we do not have, like you were saying, those Black voices that are in media or those, at a national level, or those Black voices like an Oprah or some others who could really help to stomp out this negativity about our reparations claim, if they would come out and they would use their national platforms for that counter messaging. So that's all I have to say for now. I know you have some other discussions here, and I'll jump in with those. So I will land, and thank you so much for the platform.
Thank you, Queen B. Appreciate that. Denise, I see you got your hand up. How you doing tonight?
Hey, thank you. Good to see everyone. And Queen, thank you for the things that you've shared. Yes, I blocked that chick. That just came across my timeline with her thing about when will Black Americans pay white Americans for all the damage they cause. So something about the riots around the murders and Black Lives Mattering and things like that. So I blocked her. And, it's interesting that we're all get to the same sort of mindset, which is part of my engagement with people sometimes around reparations is not necessarily, never really, to change the mind of the person that I'm interacting with, which is why you notice many times I just don't argue with people. What I do is I will lay out some information for all the other people who are going to see this exchange. Like, whether you change your mind about it, I don't care. Because I never want to give credence to the idea that it needs to be a matter of public opinion and public will in the first place. Like, we need to take a vote from all of America, because there's never been a situation, nor will there ever be a situation, where 100% of Americans are supporting something that is for American Negroes, and period. And so even when we look at, and I say this all the time, the 1964 civil rights legislation, and public opinion about that was that 49% of Americans approved, 31% outright disapproved, and then 10% in 1964 weren't sure if they supported the 1964 Civil Rights Act. So when you subtract non-white people from that 59%, you're looking at how the rest of Americans contributed to the support. And so it's 50% maybe of white Americans who supported the civil rights legislation of 1964. I mean, we're talking Emmett Till was murdered, not quite 10 years before, and all the shit that Martin Luther King Jr., Rosa Parks, all the people had been through. Like, you saw all that on your TV, you saw all that in public conversation, and you still weren't sure. Like, 1 in 2 white folks still weren't sure. So I'm done with the idea that we need to convert everybody. I dropped the information because I want the other people who read it to see for their benefit, and if they should choose to dig in deeper and lean into learning so that they can be more informed citizens. But I ain't trying to convince you. And this reminds me of a conversation I had with an academic leader of an organization recently, and he was saying that there are some people, some Black, very popular Black pundits, who are saying the only way to get to reparations is to include all Americans in it, not all poor Americans in it. And I told him if LeBron James is a descendant of U.S. slaves, then LeBron James is entitled to reparations. It's not even a matter of how you've been able to make yourself successful. It's the fact that your family has been through a thing. So the reality for me is that it is about the injury to your family, not LeBron. And I told him, LeBron or whoever could opt out if they choose, but that shouldn't be something that's made public. We don't need people publicly putting pressure on somebody. So just because you're a multimillionaire, your family still went through enslavement. And how much more wealthy would your family be, first of all, if just 100 years after slavery, they didn't have to go through the shit that they went through? You would have been farther along. And as with many of our other families, now people will argue about, most people lose their wealth. Where I come from, but our families put shit in mattresses, and we was making stuff happen, right? So you can't even apply that, and we'll never know. And regardless, the reality is that we've been injured for 100 years, and there's been wealth that white folks have been able to attain that we hadn't, for very clear reasons. The other thing I was going to say is many of these people in their arguments about the Black American community and the results of what has happened over history are making the case for reparations. And I think that's it. Thank you for making the case for reparations. Now I'm moving on. There's a reality that we know that government programming built the white middle class. There is no doubt about that. There's all kinds of studies that show how the funding between the 30s and the 60s made the white middle class, and how Black Americans were specifically excluded from that. So you can deny that all you want, but that's the reality. So I also, in talking to that academic that I just shared with you, I told him, I asked him, I was like, why would white Americans try to shoehorn their way into repair for enslavement, Jim Crow, and the discrimination that's cost the United States GDP $16 trillion over the last first 20 years of the 21st century. And I said, that's, I used some word, but dehumanizing, it's disgusting that people would do that. And I said, why don't you create your own claim? Find a way that the United States government has impaired your particular class of people, whatever that might be, and work on that. Why would you need to disrupt ours? Ours is not the first, only, nor the last reparatory effort in the country. So why don't you start your own? And I can tell that had never occurred to me. And I think for some people, they want to turn this, and this is the issue we had with Del Banco, right? The other space that we had about him and his talk. Some people want to act like this is the only, they're getting in on our shit. It's the only way for them to have the United States fix the way that they've messed up the country with sending jobs overseas, divesting from inner ring suburbs and the like. That's a whole separate claim. Our class is about being a descendant of United States slaves who have an unbroken chain of harms from the start of this nation, through the Civil War, through Jim Crow, even until today. That is the definition of our class. So find your own. And I also told him, and I think I kind of blew his mind because I said it out loud, I said, we won't disrupt your claim unless you disrupt ours. So I think we need to be really unapologetic and stop trying to skirt it around. And I know many of us in this space don't do this, but stop trying to skirt around and make it more palatable for people. It is what it is. And find your own claim if you want to be a part of something reparatory. Don't disrupt our shit, and we won't, Newstoter, don't disrupt our stuff, and we won't disrupt yours. It is disgusting for you to try to shame us for accepting an apology, because under what other circumstance will we do that? And repairing the relationship, under what other relationship will you say that people don't need to repair relationships when injuries happen? So I think that sometimes we just got to lay it out to people and let the chips fall where they may, recognizing that at best in this country, we have 59% of Americans supporting a repair of us. And then if we assume 9% of those people were non-white people, you're looking at 1 in 2 white people who will support anything related to descendants of U.S. slaves. I'll land there. Thank you.
Thank you, Denise. You're on fire there. Glad to hear from you. Can't really refute much of what you said either. As always, I mean, I just love the way you put it. And you're right. We get to the point with these trolls and stuff. Like I said, I have to do better myself. I got to stop going back and forth. I hit them, even no matter how much information you hit these people with, it's always an excuse. It's always a cop out. It's always a reason. But as you put it too, and you're right, the actual government, and people always say, well, you shouldn't worry about the government doing this, and you shouldn't listen. The government was bankrolled off of the backs of black people. The government has, like you're right, they allowed white people who came over here with nothing to go ahead and become middle class. They went ahead and they did for every other group. A lot of the immigrant groups that come over here, they have all kind of programs and everything else for them as well too. The government also, we look at China and we look at some of the rise of some of these other countries. Well, it got to the point they started seeing that you start having a black middle class start to build and come up in this country. They said, well, hold on, we can't let these niggas just come up like this right here. I would much rather go ahead and outsource these jobs than to see these people right here breathing down my neck. So one reason people look at the Chinese economy and stuff, and now unfortunately they came back to bite America in the ass. But they went ahead and they bankrolled China, they bankrolled India, they bankrolled so many of these other places because they didn't want black people to go ahead and keep rising in this country. You saw the auto industry up there in the Midwest, and instead of letting things just play out the way it was, you started going ahead taking thousands, tens of thousands, millions of jobs, outsourcing them, putting them there. Yeah, you want to get cheap labor, you want to get cheap products, but you also want to make sure that you can hurt a certain class in here and make sure that they can stay beneath you. So in their own sense, America has done this to themselves. They have competition for people that they went ahead and they propped up now. China's breathing down their neck, and it's all because of the American government's greed. It's all because of their hatred, their racism, and their fear of black people that they went ahead and they put a lot of these countries up here, countries that was one time China was not far from being a third world country itself. Went ahead and propped them up. You look at Japan, and look at Japan after Japan went ahead and you had World War II and Japan got bombed to pieces. Okay. Japan didn't just come up. People can talk about how smart Asians are and their IQ and this and that or whatever. It was foreign investment from the United States and other countries, namely the United States, that went ahead and got Japan back up to the point that it was. So America doesn't have a problem investing in people across the world. Notice the countries that they do invest in, because they'll invest in white countries, but they'll also invest in other countries as well too, as long as they're not a black nation. You see, that's the problem. They don't put tens of billions of dollars into black nations and black lands and stuff like that, and they sure as hell don't invest into the black people in this country like that. So they don't have an issue going and investing into certain countries where they think is going to benefit them. But God forbid that it be a black person, and they went ahead. They get the same money that they've been investing into all of these other foreign nations. They could invest it into the black community right here in America. And the black community is the one who actually deserves it, because the black community is the reason that you can take your dollars and take it overseas and invest in other people. Professor, you got it. Go ahead.
Yeah, Newstoter, let me say this first. Look like we might be having problems with bringing people up, man.
Yeah, I saw Volvo. Volvo tried to come up, and Wilson. I don't know what happened. So Volvo, Wilson, if y'all try to come back up again, let's see what's up. Because I saw y'all came, and maybe it could be on their end. It could be on the space as well too. But try to come back up, guys, and we'll try to get you up.
Yeah, drop down, Bobo, and come back up. You and Sister Wilson, y'all both try to come back up, and we'll see if we can get y'all up here. Meanwhile, Cream B, you brought up a very good point about Lieutenant Governor Mark Robertson that made that speech to a Republican, might as well say it was mostly white people, where he was caping for them about they should be paid reparations. I think that was him that said that. And it took me back to another Negro who was supposed to be Black American, who said this back a few years ago by the name of Larry Elder.
Same one time about he running for president now.
Yeah. Remember he said that same thing about reparations should be paid to white people because they lost their land after the Civil War. See, this is what I'm talking about. These are FBA people. I think Larry Elder is FBA, and I think the guy Mark Robertson are all from here, right? But see, these are our own people. These are our own people, and I'm pretty sure that knucklehead Tim Scott up there in South Carolina is going to be another one of them because he's from here. And see, this is what I'm talking about. Our own people are killing us. when we be trying to do things to benefit the community as a whole, we got these Uncle Tom Negroes who are putting us in a bad situation when we need to fight as a collective unit. See, this is the problem. All the other groups don't get along, right? But they all would come together for a collective cause. The Hispanics would come together for a collective cause. White people definitely gonna come together for a collective cause. Everybody's gonna get on code, and I'm talking about those groups, because right now our people can't seem to get on code. See, this is what I'm talking about. These damn FBA, Black American conservatives are selling us out. See, they go in front of white people talking about we owe white people reparations. Can you imagine Negroes telling these folks that? And Candace Owens, she done it too. See what I'm talking about? Candace Owens have done shit like this. Then that what's that other one thing? Cause she ain't worth shit now. You don't even hear about it anymore. Dame Dash cousin, I think she did.
They're talking Stacey Dash.
Yeah. See, this is what I'm talking about. All these Black American people supposed to be on a collective unit, and we all be on one code, and we got our own people selling us out. So, with that being said, Newstoter, who's up next, man?
We got Volvo and we got Queen B up as well too. So Volvo, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm gonna touch on the. I came late. I don't know what y'all talking about. I couldn't get kicked out.
So far, we talking about the Dr. Phil thing, and next I'm gonna touch up on the. I'm gonna touch up on Akon, and we're gonna touch up on the King Randall thing as well too. We just so far everybody's been going in on the thing with Dr. Phil, and Dr. Phil pretty much shot down the idea and the notion of reparations, and basically saying that you can't just give a bunch of money to people because they'll be broke. The same thing you even hear some black people saying, like, you just can't give a bunch of people money and then expect them not to be broke within 6 months. So pretty much we're covering that so far, but we're gonna touch up on the King Randall, and we're gonna touch up on Akon. I'm gonna touch up on Akon next as well, matter of fact.
Yeah. Oh, all right. I'm gonna because I don't want to. I thought y'all were saying something about China and about that. That's what made me come up. But yeah, I wanted to speak on that, but I don't want to change the topic of the room. So
no, I'm just basically we were saying that the United States, and I was saying personally that the United States, we look at China as the monster that it is now, but it was a United States investment into China and also trying to stick it to black people over in this country by outsourcing a lot of jobs that black people were doing that came back to bite them in the ass. Now you went from being this manufacturing giant to now you're just a service industry, a service nation, where you used to be the top manufacturer in the world, but you did that out of spite and because you're cheap as hell too. Let's get that as well too. You didn't want to pay wages. You want to go ahead and try to get it as cheap as possible. And you also want to make sure that you didn't have a growing class, a black middle class that was going to challenge your people in this country as well too. So you went ahead out of spite, out of race, out of the pure races that you are, and you went ahead and you start outsourcing. Now you got a serious problem with China breathing down your neck and their machine that ain't going to be stopped anytime soon. So you can go ahead and pat yourself on the back for that one.
okay, yeah, I totally agree with you, bro. I've been saying that the whole time. I've been saying that, but every time I say that, I get trolled about it. Like you do not send the work to the enemy. What type of idiot would send the work to the enemy? They sabotage Black America, put drugs in Black America, and then send the work to the enemy. I've been saying that the whole time. I've been saying this for months now, years now. I've been saying it for years, but I've been saying it on your platform for months. I get trolled for that. You know what I mean? Like, you don't send the work overseas and then you sabotage the people that's in the country, the people you live around. The reason why the black inner city, the reason why the black communities look the way it look is because of sabotage. So you take the jobs and the work out of the country and send it overseas, and then now you like, what's like China about to take our spot? That's dumb as fuck. You do not send. They sent our intellectual property over there to them. They making our technology now. Those semiconductors that's in your phone, that's in your TV, that's in your car, that's in the machine you use at work, that's in your computer, all that shit. Without a semiconductor, you can't hear my voice right now. They sent that overseas to the enemy. That's got to be the most dumbest shit ever. See, when somebody hates you, they don't use logic. All that shit could have been done in Black America. Oh, all right, you didn't want to make it. All right, you white, you don't want to make it. Cool. Black people could have made that shit. When they say that Citibank did a study saying that racism cost America 18 trillion or 20 trillion, something like that. I remember seeing that during COVID. It cost them more than that. It cost them. It cost America its number one spot. Why would you sabotage the people of your nation? That don't make no sense. That's like cutting off your own foot. I've been saying this for a long time, and everybody just looked at me like I'm crazy. Black people don't really want to hear this type of talk. You know what I mean? This like even right now, we still not talking about this in Black America. They sabotaged us and sent the work to the end. I'll let my plane, brother, because I go on.
Appreciate that, Volvo. And I mean, I never, maybe you got some kickback from some people in this space, but I've never, I felt that for a long time because that's what they did with the car industry and with a bunch of different other industries in this country. They started going ahead and outsourcing this work, and they knew who it was going to hurt. So that's why they did it. So you'll definitely get no pushback from me on that as well, too. So I'm in agreement with you. Let me go ahead, Queen B. I'm going to get to you, but let me get to Wilson first since he hasn't had a chance to speak, and then I'm going to get to you, Queen B. Wilson, how you doing tonight?
Hi, everybody. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. Wilson, you're a little bit low. Is there any way we can get you to speak up a little bit louder?
Not a problem. Can you hear?
I can hear you a little bit better now.
Oh, okay. I'll speak as loud as I can. Anyway, look, if moving manufacturing to overseas to cut costs, of course, only affected Black people, we wouldn't be having a conversation. They don't give a shit about Black people, but it has affected white people too. I mean, those blue collar jobs and those manufacturing jobs that had historically been passed on to their son or daughter, whatever, has completely gone, as we know. And so nothing else has come behind it for white people to benefit from with no skill set. Meaning, because they were so used to just being white and used to just bringing their whiteness to a job where they could just accelerate based on their skin color, it was okay for them. But now, due to, of course, manufacturing leaving the United States and going overseas, and of course because of globalization, whereas they were not used to being qualified, they have to be qualified for anything in the past. They now have to be qualified for it now, and they are suffering at an exponential rate. I was reading where their life expectancy now is the lowest in the United States. It's not just black. It's not Black people, okay? And they are dying at three things, and it's of course we all know they're dying from overdose with meth and everything like that. They're also dying from liver disease, which is cirrhosis of the liver, equated to related to alcoholism and suicide. And it's a lot of it is that old thing that they used to take and tell us, pull yourself up by your bootstrap, is now facing them and they can't do it. The pressure, they cannot do it. And so this is the response. They are killing themselves, drinking, or taking drugs. The referendums that were put in place for Black people right after emancipation through Reconstruction, Jim Crow, those very referendums are hurting them now. White people, the rich white people, the ones that took those manufacturing companies, those opportunities, and moved them overseas to cut costs and gain. These poor white people are so ignorant. They don't seem to realize that they are being used by their own people. Rich whites are saying, hey, all these immigrants, Black people, they're taking your jobs. These white people are not looking at, these are your own people that are doing this to you. We are, as Americans, we are supporting communism by supporting China. We are, as Americans, responsible for India and China's fastest growing middle class. They are the fastest growing middle class. free. They can afford to go to schools here. They're traveling. They're doing these things, and so we're exposing ourselves not only to the fact that we are hurting ourselves by maintaining manufacturing companies there and supporting it, but we're also maintaining their wealth by traveling around the world. And so, and there's so many things that I could say, but you know, I would argue that for white people, their come up, I believe, was really during the Homestead Act of 1862. I would argue that it began there, you know, where they just took land away from Native Indians and built their own wealth. That's what I believe. I believe that it started as the Homestead Act, and then of course, as Denise had mentioned, the GI Bill and all these government programs that really accelerated them beyond, you know. And so for them to, you know, tell Black people that, you know, that we're not giving you any handouts, all white people do is get handouts. And speaking of which, we have been able to give handouts in the billions to countries around the world. You know, Israel is one of them. Obama increased their annual, I call welfare check, from 2.8 to almost 4 billion a year. I don't know what we're getting out of that. I don't know what the benefit of that is. Just found out the other day with that young man who uploaded all those, you know, sensitive files, Department of Defense, that I didn't even know we gave Egypt $1 billion a year. We give Egypt $1 billion a year. I don't know for what. What I do know is that their prime minister was planning on, might have already done, sold arms to Russia. And in this audio tape, it was some translation of it on paper, that he said he doesn't want the West to know, doesn't want America to know. So we give money to countries that hate us, that are undermining us. I can't even imagine how much money we give other countries around the world. But I don't know what we get for it. I really don't. As far as Dr. Phil and like Dr. Oz, their common denominator is Oprah Winfrey. Oprah Winfrey was able to put on her own platform Dr. Phil and Dr. Oz, and they went meteoric. And so, when we all saw Dr. Oz was out of his mind, and Dr. Phil, he's using his platform to speak up against reparations, we need to be asking Oprah Winfrey, what was it about Dr. Phil and Dr. Oz that you could not find in other Black people? Like, she also accelerated Sue's work. I want to know why you had to go all the way to San Francisco to find her, when right in your backyard was a sister who runs one of the most successful globally investment firms in the world, and that's Melanie Hodges. What is it, $4 trillion hedge fund? Like, you had her all that time and had her show, but you would accelerate Sue's work. You would accelerate Dr. Oz. You would accelerate Dr. Phil. We need to ask her. And it maybe leads to what we were saying, I heard earlier. I think for Black American people today in 2023, this is how I see it. You just can't be surprised if somebody is speaking up against reparations and their FBA. You can't be surprised anymore, because you'll have people who are non-FBA more down for reparations to Black Americans than some Black Americans. And so what I would say, and I think social media is a microcosm, is that you're going to have to, over time, watch a person and let them prove themselves. You got to lay in the cut and judge them by their character and what they do or don't do and what they say or didn't say, in order to determine who is for the cause and who isn't. Because there's a whole lot of FBA people who don't want to see their own people get reparations. And you cannot be surprised about it. As well as you cannot be surprised if you have a non-FBA person that is down for the cause and mistreat them and everything, because you need allies too. So I wanted to land with that, and thank you.
All right. Real quick, guys, I want to touch up, and I'm going to get the U Queen B, and I'm going to get the Volvo. I want to touch up real quick on this Akon thing as well, too. Akon lately, the past couple months, he has been in a frenzy about Black Americans moving to Africa. I'm gonna touch up on an old article and tie it in with this new article that he's got. I don't know what it is. I know Akon's got the actual Akon city or whatever he's trying to do over there. That one he got fronted by the Chinese as well too. So is Akon having his strings pulled by the Chinese? Because they definitely funded him and fronted him the cash or whatever. But he's in a frenzy. He I don't know what it is. One minute you're talking about Black Americans need to move over to Africa. Next minute he's sitting up here talking about, well, Africans are the ones with the real talent. So this guy he flip flops back and forth. He wants you to come. Then he's sitting up here kind of insulting the culture, and he comes back a couple months later, a few weeks later. Oh, y'all need to come over here, and we'll build this, and we'll be that. So let me touch up on this older article. It's up in the Jumbotron. I'm going to tie it into a newer article. This is from Hip Hop DX, and it says, Akon believes Africa could be the strongest nation if African Americans move there. Akon believes that Africa could be the strongest nation in the world if African Americans move back there, and he's on a mission to make it happen. The locked up singer made his plans clear during an interview with Revolt's Deposit podcast that went viral recently. In the clip, Akon explained that the continent has all the resources they need, just the people. Now, this is an older article I'm touching up on. It was a couple months ago. My goal is to get everybody to move back to Africa. That's my goal, he said. I want to get as many African Americans back home to Africa as I possibly can, because I know the day they move back, everything they're fighting for in America, they will not have to fight for over there. All the struggle that they struggle in America, they're going to come here with the mindset, with this mentality, with the finances that they built, the equity in their life, and bring it back to invest in Africa. He continued, man, Africa be the strongest nation in the world if y'all went back home, because we got everything that it takes to be that. We got the resources, we got the land, we got the population, and together we got the strength, and we got the know-how. Like, we ain't doing that. As 2022 came to close, the singer came under fire after he claimed that African performers were better than their American counterparts. The claim was made during an appearance on the ZZ Mills show, where he spoke on a range of topics and said that African performance was just a little different. We're a little different when it comes to stage presence, Akon said. Now, in America, oh yeah, them niggas be wobbling pants, hanging halfway down, bored as hell, half asleep because they high as hell. But in Africa, I mean, look at the YouTube clip of these kids from Uganda. These kids are performers. So for us, it comes naturally to watch these kids from Africa. It is in their blood. Performing is like second nature to us. He continued before crowning Black Sheriff and Fireboy D-Mail as a new generation of African talent. Twitter flooded with reaction to Akon's controversial take, with personality Van Lathan among those who call the singer's comments disrespectful. It always comes back to shitting on Black Americans, especially after they made millions imitating Black Americans, he wrote. Ebro Darden added, this is framed a way to trigger me. Let me chill. Akon, you my guy. You can't mean African Americans in general. Ain't no way. Other reactions included Black skincare influencer who wrote Akon cosplay Black Americans for the majority of his career. So him saying this is wild. Let Black Americans cook him without xenophobia. So let me go ahead and get to the new one, because like I said, now this was back in February. Now my man comes back, of course, even like I say, it's positive stuff from him one day, and he comes back the next day, and then he's taking a crap. You talk about those little kids, and shout out to the little kids, the Uganda kids doing their thing or whatever. I see a clip also over there in their little village. They got this white girl sitting up there, and she's dancing and this and that, and that's going viral or whatever. So yeah, if that's what you want to believe, that you guys are superior entertainers, I'm not even going to entertain that. But let me go ahead and get to this real quick. Now, this is from legit.ng. I believe it's an African site. It says it's titled, Akon calls for African Americans to move to Africa, draws mixed reactions. Akon, the singer and entrepreneur, has stirred controversy with his recent statements about African Americans moving back to Africa. In an interview, Revolt's podcast, Akon expressed belief that Africa could become the strongest nation in the world if African Americans return to their ancestral homeland. He cited Africa's abundant resources, land population, and know-how as ingredients for success. Akon, hold on one second. Akon's comments sparked mixed reactions on social media. Some have supported his vision, seeing it as a way for African Americans to escape discrimination and inequality in the United States and tap into Africa's potential growth. I would love to move to Africa in a heartbeat, somebody wrote. This sounds fair to me, and before they go, the government should give each person millions in reparations check. He's right. Our brothers and sisters desperately need help over there. So many wonderful people throughout Africa. Others, however, criticize Akon for his sweeping generalizations about African Americans and his apparent disregard for the challenges they face in their home country. I don't think Africans like Black Americans. There's no going back. Bro keeps saying Africa, but not saying which country in Africa. They're all very different. Sounds great, except we got here because Africans over there sold us to Europeans. So as you can see, there was a lot of mixed feelings in terms of what Akon's been saying as well too. Uh, so a lot of mixed feelings. So let me go ahead real quick and get to Queen B. I know you had your hand up. Volvo was up here, but he must have dropped down. Queen B, you still want to go ahead and speak?
No, actually, I wanted to respond to Professor, but no, not anymore.
Okay.
I mean, I'll stay up here.
No, okay.
I'm interested in talking about some of the other stuff, other discussions.
Yeah,
but not right now. I'm fine.
Okay.
Thank you.
That's fine. I knew you had your hand up, and I know Volvo had his hand up too. I just wanted to go ahead and touch up on the actual when the Akon thing, because it's like I don't understand Akon. 1 minute you praising Black people, the next minute you dissing Black people. You want us to come over there? Do you want us to come over there to help you out with the actual city that you're trying to get popping or whatever? Because I've heard mixed things about that city that it doesn't look like it's going to prosper the way they initially thought. So my thing with Akon is like 1 minute you cool, the next minute you got a problem. As people said, man, come on, you came over here to this culture. You can sit up here and talk about how great the Uganda performance and people have high and this and that or whatever. But if it was like that, bro, you would have stayed over there in Africa and you would have came up with your people doing your cultural music and you became a millionaire. But you didn't do that. You came to America and you got with Americans and you became a millionaire off American music, off American culture. And then you went back and you taking your money and now you're going back over to Africa and talk about building an actual city and a township as well. So let's stop the nonsense because that is complete nonsense as well too. So let me just go ahead and say that. Now, Volvo, I said you came back, but before I get to you, Volvo, let me get the Black Native. We got us a new speaker. Black Native.
Can you hear me though, bro?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Okay.
Black Native, what's going on?
What's going on, Newstoter? What's up, DJ, Professor? Peace to the room.
We're chilling.
At this point, Akon seems like he's trolling, like literally. I was in a space earlier today, and it was a discussion about how Black Americans and Africans can help each other build up Africa. And it was an African that came and spoke, and they didn't even consider Akon an African. They was like, he's not African, he's a Black American. So that was kind of confusing. Everybody in the space was like, no, he's African. They was like, no, he's a Black American. So his own people are not even identifying with him. And he speaks about all of the issues that's going on. Remember the song Locked Up? He made that song because he lived in New Jersey. And he was doing the same thing that he claims Black Americans are doing. He was robbing and doing all this shit, and he got locked up. So he's a hypocrite. I don't think Africa really wants a whole millions and millions of Black Americans to come to Africa. Like I said in the last space, if we come over there, it's going to be like the Black Panther, and we're going to be like Killmonger. We're not going to sit around and have Asians up in there and white people up in there colonizing that country. If you want millions of us to come back, we're gonna get them the fuck out and tear shit up and get shit right. Because we're not gonna deal with the same thing that we're dealing with over here, and then move over in a whole nother continent, and we got people colonizing us over there. So they really don't want us to come back. They don't want that because we're not gonna have it. You know, so yeah, that's all just something he feels like he has to say for whatever reason, I don't know. And then he said he was the Chinese gave him millions of dollars to help build Africa. Sounds kind of familiar to like Praz. Praz is now from the Fugees, is now confessing to be an informant. And he was working with the Chinese, getting millions of dollars. He's facing, 20-something years, I believe, for $100 million that he supposedly
life.
All right.
They're about to give his ass, if you convicted, the
So
judge.
he gonna be singing "I'm Locked Up." He gonna be singing that Akon song. So let's
don't forget
it.
Black Native real quick. Don't forget a judge could switch it. 20 years is just the bare minimum. They could turn around and say because of the charges, we giving you life without the possibility of parole.
Right, but let's look at the correlation between the two. He, that was shocking. Everybody was like, "What?" So you were an informant for how many years for the FBI? And I think they said Leonardo DiCaprio was somehow involved in this and supposed to be testifying against him. So that shit is all the way crazy. So we have to really look at Akon. You know what I'm saying? Because he says one thing one month, the next month, and he is so eager to have us come back to Africa, and we ain't been there in damn near 600 years. Like, let's keep it real. So I question that, and like I said, at this point, I'm considering him a troll. Dr. Phil. Yeah, I think Sister Wilson pretty much said it all. You know, our sister, a Black American, raised in Mississippi, coming from the mud, made herself a billionaire, aka Oprah Winfrey, put Dr. Phil on, and she was naming a bunch of other people, Dr. Oz. You forgot Rachel Ray. She put her on as well. All of these people got their own TV shows, and now he's worth, $265 million off of a Black woman, Black American woman, and now you got the nerve to talk about you don't think we should get reparations, and you don't know, we're not capable, or we won't know how to spend the money. Dr. Rashad Ritchie checked his ass. He has a show on YouTube called, I think it's Indisputable, with Dr. Rashad Ritchie. He put him in check. So this is what they do. You know, they make they come up. This is nothing new. We always help other people before we help ourselves. And now he's well off, he's rich, and now he can sit back off the backs of a Black American woman and tell us that he doesn't think that we should get reparations. You know, this shit is just all the way crazy. And now you got white people, I think in Tennessee somewhere, talking about white people should get reparations. Now this shit is just crazy. You know, everybody is coming from everywhere, and they know that we're serious. They know that we're not backing down. You got John Leguizamo. He's coming up with his own movie. So, he ain't even Puerto Rican, been posing as a Puerto Rican ever since he was back in the 80s in movies. He's, I think, Venezuelan or something like that. Now, now the Hispanics are the founders of this country. It's just like everybody is out to get us. And like Dr. Henry Clark said, we have no friends. And best to believe, we have no friends. And I'm going to go ahead and land my plane on that.
All right. Thank you, Black Native. Thank you, Black Native. Vovo was just up here. He must have dropped down. So I don't know what happened with him. He was just up here a second ago.
I think he's having issues, man, staying in. I think he's having technical issues.
Yeah, because he was next. Because I was just looking for him. And then I was like, okay, well, Vovo must have dropped down or whatever. So damn, okay, well.
Either that or somebody saying he got to just stay down because he won't be coming in here with all these devil advocate type scenarios.
No, it ain't that, because he can come in and he can say what he want to say. I'm gonna let him go ahead and express himself. But I think, like you said before, he was having some issues, because that's what he asked. Like, can you hear me? So if you get a chance, Vovo, come back up here. We'll go ahead and let you cook it for a minute or whatever as well, too. And some of our other people up in here as well, too. I see y'all up listening, everybody chilling, like, hey, what's going on tonight or whatever. Happy Sunday to y'all. So you get a chance, guys, come on up here real quick. Let me say this. Up in the Jumbotron, we have the YouTube channel. That's the one. Let me see. I think it's the third. It's the fourth one from the right. It's the fourth one, the fifth one from the right. So, guys, go ahead. We've been getting a decent amount of our listeners to go up and subscribe to the actual YouTube channel while the space is going. We still need that to go as well, too. Let's see if we can get us at least 4 or 5 new subscribers tonight. So please go ahead and subscribe to the YouTube channel while the space is going. You don't have to disconnect anything. You can just go ahead up in the Jumbotron, the fifth one on the right-hand side. Just go ahead and click that. Go to YouTube, hit subscribe, and you're still listening to the actual space as is going on. So please go ahead and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Also, up in the Jumbotron, or we have the actual Cash App, $Newstoter, $Newstoter. Newstoter is the largest Black-owned, Black American-owned news media curation platform today in America. Once again, Newstoter is the largest Black-owned, Black media news curation platform today in America. You can support us on Cash App. That is $Newstoter. $Newstoter. Once again, that's $Newstoter. If you don't have a Cash App, we have the Venmo and PayPal up in the Jumbotron as well too. Wilson, I saw you had your hand up. Let me go ahead. I'll get to you. Let me go ahead. I see we got a new speaker up here, Mona. Also, we're gonna have DJ play this. We want to talk about the King Randall thing going on as well too. King Randall, the young brother that has the school and everything else. He's getting a lot of praise at the same time. He gets a lot of backlash for some of the things he says about Black Americans and the pull yourself up by your bootstrap mentality. So we definitely want to go ahead and touch up on that as well too. Quite a few people yesterday was talking about it. So DJ's gonna play a quick 36-second I think from his Instagram. He's gonna play that tonight so we can just hear what he was saying. He used Malcolm X as a reference. So you go ahead and get to that. Mona, go ahead and unmute your mic.
Hi, I just want to thank you guys for having such great content and for keeping everybody informed. I really appreciate that. So I'm always tuning into your channel.
Well, thank you. That's the nicest thing anybody said today. So I appreciate that. Thank you, Mona.
So I just want to say a couple of things. America's wealth is based upon the demise and the debt of Black people. And Black people, that's why everybody seemed like the young lady was talking, everybody coming against us, right? If Black people, no, I'm not going to say when Black people get reparations, then you have to worry about the American economy. Have to worry about is falling because everybody will pay off bills, so no one will have to pay finance anymore. No one will have to pay mortgage finance and principal. People will start buying things right out. We will start making our own money and start doing everything. We will flatten the economy in America, and that's why. So everybody's coming against us and saying they don't need reparations. That's why, even though you have a lot of ignorant, professional people or entertainers said, "Oh, well, Black people will just waste the money." I don't know where people get that from. Black people, oppressed people, know how to manage oppression. We are very good at managing money. We are very good at doing what we have to do with our families. We do it every day. When they make that song, we make $1.15 a can. That's what we do. So we have to really remember, when we get reparations, we will flatten the economy because it's all based on our demise. It's all based on our debt and our back. So that's all I have to say. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And Mona, and they know this. They know when Black people, when they started giving out that money during the COVID for the pandemic relief, and they was giving $2,500 or $1,300, whatever it was, they know Black people was taking that and using that money to actually pay bills. You know, most of the money that Black people get, they can't put it aside and save it because they have to actually put it to use. So these white folks know that. And this is what William Darity was saying. There is a wage gap. There's a racial wealth gap between Black and white people, $840,000. So you almost have about $1 million racial wealth gap by his words, not mine. That's what he said. He's the economist. Can you imagine that? So here's the thing. This is the thing. They know that Black people get it. They're going to infuse it and they're going to spend it and they're going to put it into the economy. And that was a big thing with civil rights when they said, you know what? Yeah, let's go ahead and socially integrate with them, because all they're gonna do is come to our stores and start becoming our consumers and stuff like they already were, but they're gonna become even bigger base of people that before that said no. So their thing is that, hey, we want to keep these Negroes as far apart from us financially as possible. That's why they don't want it. They know good and well if you give us that money, we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna infuse the economy. People are gonna go out, they're gonna create businesses, they're gonna go to restaurants, they're gonna go to hotels, they're gonna go shopping, they're gonna buy cars, they're gonna buy houses, they're gonna do everything else like that. It's gonna be a huge infusion of cash into the actual American financial system. But that thing is like, hey, why do we want them to go ahead and close the racial wealth gap? We like that. They like it. So that's why they use other classes to go ahead and create that divide as well too. They rather see the Asians and the Latinos and every other group ahead of Black people. Let's keep them at the bottom of the barrel, because the reason that Black people This country was founded for black people to stay at the bottom of the barrel. Anytime you upset that apple cart, then you have an issue right there. That's why you got all these white folks up in the frenzy. Now they talking about they deserve reparations and they deserve this and that, and talking about no. First, Dr. Claude Anderson already said, if you want to go back and talk about all of the riots and stuff like that, white folks was rioting way before you had any Negroes ever rioting in this country. So they caused a lot. They burned down a lot of property and tore a lot of stuff down way before you ever had any black people doing it. Of course, that's not written in history. We don't want to talk about that because good white folks don't do it. Hell, they can't win a damn sports championship without flipping cars over and breaking windows and everything else and causing millions of dollars worth of damage. So you know damn well when they get upset, they're gonna go ahead and do it. So all this nonsense and all this talk about it's gonna break the system and we can't afford it and this and that. This country's been writing up checks, printing up dollars, and one of the best things that ever happened for him in terms of everybody can talk about how the value of the dollar went down or whatever. That hadn't stopped white folks one iota from writing up checks left and right. When you had the damn COVID, when you had COVID popping off, they gave the banks the authority to print up $1 trillion a day as operational funds. $1 trillion a day. Don't sit up here and talk about you don't have the money, man. You sitting up here giving Ukraine money out the wazoo. You're giving Afghanistan money out the wazoo. You're giving Israel money out the wazoo. Now you're giving Africa money. And even though that $55 billion, let's be for real, that's chump change too, because you may give them $55 billion, but you about to take about 20 trillion from their ass over there as well too. So let's just keep that a buck as well too. That 55 billion you giving Africa, the whole continent of 1 billion people, that ain't anything, because you're going to go ahead and take 20-30 trillion dollars worth of their resources from over there. People forget that Africa, what is it? DRC has $20 trillion worth of resources in that country alone. That country is the most mineral rich country in the entire world. Okay, so the $55 billion you're finna give a continent of over 1 billion people, man, get out of here with that. So they simply don't want to see black people rise. That's simply the fact. They sitting up here telling you can't afford this, you can't afford that. Well, then stop printing up all this money if you can't afford it. You can afford it. Whenever your heart desires, you have no issue going to the treasury and printing up billions of dollars whenever you want to. So just stop the nonsense. You spend trillions of dollars on the goddamn military machine that we have here. And you don't even let everybody know exactly how much you're spending on that military machine. A lot of that stuff is in the black. Nobody knows how much the U.S. is actually spending in terms of that military. They can sit up here and tell that nonsense. Well, we spent $500 billion. No, you spent way more than $500 billion. You want to make sure that's what keeps everything into place. It's not the damn dollar. It's the actual army. Okay, America could tell any country in the world to F off, and what are you gonna do about it? You gonna go to war with the United States of America? Do you really want that? So it's just nonsense that they keep perpetuating and saying you have the money, you simply don't want to give it to black people. You don't have a problem giving to anybody in this world, but when it comes to black people, all of your enemies you done built up, you done gave them money. Now you got China breathing down your back. Like I say, Japan got bombed with Hiroshima. Oh, Japan, it'll take them forever. People dying of radiation over there and everything else. All of a sudden, come the 80s, Japan done took over the United States as a top car manufacturer in the world. Out of nowhere. Off of American investment. So you're like you're chewing your own hand off, despite one group of people in this country, because you're so afraid that the people that you have just completely crapped on for hundreds of years are going to rise and overtake you. So you got to go ahead and keep them at bay as much as possible. Just complete nonsense. Just complete and utter nonsense. Let's go ahead to...
I was about to say, there's a comment down there in the chat from one of the caucusoids.
Oh. What?
Ain't no true too. Africans is coming to the Western countries. They don't want to stay in Africa, so I don't understand how y'all saying us probably shit about Africa is not feasible.
First off, I haven't said anything derogatory and nasty about Africa at all. You know, like I said, we can build, that's fine and whatever. I have not said one thing nasty or derogatory about Africa in this entire space. I talked about Akon, who's an African who has profited off of Black American culture and music and sits up here at the same time throwing disses and saying all kind of sly remarks about Black people. Then he comes back and say, well, hey, you know what? Y'all come over here and move over here and you bring your money over here and we can build and we'll become the greatest in the world and this and that. But then you come back and you say, well, you know, y'all half of the time you're high, you got your your pants off your ass, and you're a bunch of bastards, and them kids in Uganda in the dirt, they're better entertainers than the Jackson 5. I mean, all kind of ridiculous stuff. Ridiculous stuff. I mean, come on, man, please. Oh, Volvo, you got your thumb down, so you know you got to come up to the mic. What? Tell me what it be about. Come on, please. Hey, how low your phone? Let's get your phone up higher.
What?
Okay, now I can hear you better. Go ahead.
Oh, you can hear me. No, I threw my thumbs down when you said that he said that those kids are better entertainers than the Jackson 5.
Oh, okay. No, well, I the Jackson 5 part I put in there, but yeah, he might as well have put the Jackson 5 in there.
No, what I had wanted to say is what I always say. China took advantage of white people's evil, wicked nature. I keep saying that. Don't nobody listen. It's like they always told me when I say real shit. It's like, y'all my students. I realize that now. I'm teaching y'all. And now y'all seeing my talking points. I've been saying this. I've been saying this for months. It's like y'all just now getting it. They took advantage of white people's evil, wicked nature. That's why you think that they ain't watching all this shit? That they don't know our history? They don't know our story? How you think they snatched the rug out from under them? They know how these people work. They know that these people are going to always try to oppress us, and these people sabotage the country to sabotage us. And now they wonder how they're trying to catch up to me. Because y'all sabotaging us. They focused on sabotaging us. Now we got Chinese police stations in America, because they ain't looking at that. If I go out here, right? I did a video talking about this, right? I showed where the Chinese flying flags in America. When you fly a flag, that's you stand behind that ideology of that flag. They flying around flags in America. Hold on. Can y'all hear me?
We can hear you. We got you.
All right. Yeah, they fly flags in America. Chinese flags in America, in the United States of America. White man ain't got nothing to say about that. Go back and look at all those Asian hate rallies. They flying flags in America, Chinese flags. The enemy flying his flag in America. If I fly a Black Lives Matter flag in America, that can form a militia. A militia form. Militias have formed about a Black Lives Matter flag. They go get AR-15s. If you say Black Lives Matter, they'll go get their AR-15s. Their grandfathers will be out there with AR-15 and bulletproof vests, and they'll be counter protesters, and they'll kill you about that. But the Asians can fly Chinese flags in America, and they don't even see. If you go look at them Stop Asian Hate rallies where they fly them flags, all the Chinese flags and all that shit, it ain't even a mean face in the crowd, let alone a counter protester. And I've been saying this shit for months, years. I've been saying this for years. Niggas eating Chinese food. They done let these folks take the country. Ain't no reason why Detroit looked the way it looked. Ain't no reason why goddamn Nashville, Tennessee looked the way it looked. It ain't no reason why Chicago looked the way it looked. Why it's fucked up like that. All that shit that we sent over there to China, they sent the work to China. And now they like, oh, what happened? You sent the work to the enemy. The power is the dollar. I've been saying that. They start trolling. It's the dollar. Now China want to take the world off the dollar. So now we gonna feel the brunt of that. They took advantage of white people's evil, wicked nature.
Real talk, Volvo. Appreciate that. Let me give a shout out to Miss Mona. Mona, thank you for your contribution on Cash App as well, too. DJ, when you get a chance, I want you to play that quick little video, too, with King Randall, just so everybody who hasn't heard it can hear it, because I want to get everybody's opinion on King Randall as well too. We got 3 topics. We're gonna touch up on Dr. Phil. We're gonna touch up on King Randall. We're gonna touch up on Akon. But I want to get everybody the pulse of what everybody feel about King Randall. Young dude. And shout out to him for trying to do something in terms of educating the youth. So I'll say that much as well too. Some of the comments I'm not a huge fan on in terms of him. Some of the things he said about black people, what we need to do or whatever. And I don't totally disagree with everything he says, but I want to get everybody's opinion on it as well too. I want to hear what everybody feels about King Randall as well too. So we're gonna, in a second, DJ's gonna play that clip real quick. DJ, let me know when you can, because I sent it to you. So let me know whenever you're ready to play it, and we'll go ahead and we'll put that on as well too. Let me go real quick and go to a Welsing and Black Native. I'm not sure which one of you sisters was first. I'm sorry. I kind of lost the order. Black Native, you want to go first?
If she wants, it doesn't matter.
Hold on. We're gonna let DJ play the video real quick, and then it's like 36 seconds or so. So go ahead. It's about a minute maybe. So go ahead, DJ.
Negroes is mad. I gave a Malcolm X quote, and people thrashing me for the quote like I said it. I gave you a verbatim quote from Malcolm X about how we could do better for our communities, and here y'all go telling me about what white people have done in the past and all that stuff like that, like it ain't 2023 right now. So I'm gonna play the clip for y'all myself, so because y'all swear I just made it up or something. Oh, Malcolm didn't say that. White immigration coming to 60, 50 years ago, no education. They come here, who are the nickels and dimes, and no education. And they come to sell those stores, develop these stores and provide stores, develop this into an edge, which creates job opportunities for whites. Since black was supposed to have freed the black man 100 years ago, and today the black man runs the company counter says, spending over $20 billion per year. And he said, with the black man spending $20 billion a year, not selling any businesses, not creating any industry, not creating any job opportunities for his hometown, he's not in a moral position to talk the fear that they have of white people. And tell the black man that he's discriminating against them for not giving him a job in business that he himself said. Insane. But I'm wrong because the quote resembles today in my opinion. Sure, we have stuff that we've tried to do in the past. That don't mean stop. Who said I was scared? I opened the school. I ain't seen no white people come burn it down yet. I've been waiting on them to come burn it down. Actually, the only people that's been trying to burn it down are the black folk. And all these excuses y'all got. Well, we tried, and we tried. Y'all ain't trying nothing now. Y'all sitting up here typing. That's what you're doing. Your kids in the neighborhood can't read. You won't go take none of them to go mentor them and go read with them during the week. You got kids next door to you right now that can't read. What's stopping you from going knock on the door and make friends with their parents and reading with them every day and figuring things out and trying to mentor them and help them? If everybody in their community, at least one person in everybody in their communities could try to do something, if every man was responsible for at least one child that's not his, we'll be further. But no, y'all got all this energy to come type under my Instagram comments about how I'm leaving out history and we got this burned down and that burned down. Bro, go do something now. Period. Y'all so scared. Y'all defeated before y'all even start. Listening to y'all, I would never do nothing either. Y'all are nuts. I'm glad I never listened to y'all. Because these black children that are being successful right now and whose moms are being helped right now would never be helped listening to folk like y'all. Oh, no, you better not start no school because white folks just gonna burn it down. And then y'all made being pro-black just opposition to white folks now. Like, if anybody white agree with anything you say, then you a cool. Like, bro, like, your ideas aren't universally all black people gonna agree. No, bro. Everybody's not gonna agree with everything you say. Some white people are gonna like what you say. It just is the game. Pro-black is not anti-white. That just means you want black people to succeed. And us succeeding is not making excuses all the dang time. Like, we understand crap has happened. Let's move. We have to move. They want for us to sit. And you think white folks mad that you're talking about history? No, they want you to keep worrying about where you used to be. They want to remind you that you got your butt whipped. Actual racist white people do want to remind you that. Yeah, they want you to keep remembering what they did to you so you can never go do nothing. Racist white people don't like people like me. Because I'm going to tell black folk to go do something anyway. They like people like you that's going around telling black people they can't be successful because all white people going to do is burn it down. And you better not do nothing because white people going to stop this. And you better not do nothing because white people going to stop that. No, they like black people like you. They like y'all pro-blackers that talk about white folks all day. They love y'all. They don't like me. Yeah, white liberals, they hate me. Because I'm going to tell black folks, nah, we finna go open this up on our own. No, we're going to create warriors out of our men. Come try and burn this down if you want to. I'm teaching them about gun rights and how to defend themselves and self-defense and martial arts and all that. They scared of that. They scared of the military-age black man. They ain't scared of you 30 and 40-year-olds out here making 1,000 excuses about why our communities ain't successful. Because of something that happened 70 years ago. Oppression affects people differently, and wealth gap this and wealth gap that, and this gap and that gap. I don't care about no gaps. Okay, it's there. Now what can we do to move? Acknowledge your problems, go and fix them. Not sit and wallow in defeat. Y'all defeated already. We got grown men out here defeated. Don't make no dang sense. How you a grown man out here ain't got no balls to go stand up to somebody? We had leaders out here die for what we want. Y'all won't die for your causes now? Where our balls went? Racist white people love black folk like y'all that ain't got no balls. They don't like people like me that's willing to go do something anyway and talk against you Negroes. They want to call me a coon. Insane. But that's the game.
All right, that's it, y'all.
All right. Okay, let me go ahead and get to I'm gonna get the Black Native, then I'm gonna get to you, Wilson, and then I'm gonna get to some of our new hands. I'm gonna get to you too as well, Vovo.
No, I don't disagree with what he said. You know, just don't leave reparations off the table, but we can't continue. We have to move. Everybody else is moving. We can't stay stagnant. He sounds like what the NOI been saying. We got to build our shit up. We can't, you know, it happened. You know, we can't forget it. Like the Jews, never forget. But we have to move forward. And is this the young dude from, I think he's from Buffalo, New York? Is that the guy? I think I heard of him that opened up a school. I think he's from Buffalo, New York. I'm not sure. I don't disagree with anything he said. Everything he said is really what needs to be said. We have to move forward. You know, we still want our reparations, but we still need to build. And we can't be fearful of a white mob doing what they did back in the 1920s, 30s, 40s, and 50s. We have to have a militia. And if that's what he's about, and if he's teaching young black men to be warriors, who has a problem with that? Nobody should have a problem with that at all. And we should be teaching our young. And like he said, there's a lot of people that's probably in his comments saying a lot of hateful shit. But like he said, your next door neighbor, are you checking on your next door neighbor? Are you making sure they're good? Are you making sure that the kids that live in your building or in your hood are good? Are we doing that? So I don't disagree with anything the young brother said. I just was going to also speak on, when I think it was Vovo, he was saying, and this guy, white people ain't really, he said the people that are worried are the liberals. They want us to continue to sit there and be like, woe is me, look at us, and blah, blah, blah. But we can't deny, you know, that we still live in a system of white supremacy, but we still have to move forward, and we've been doing that. We've come a long way, and we have a long way to go. And I would just advise people, because white people ain't really thinking about black people, to be honest with you. I was driving through my neighborhood and other neighborhoods. These people are living very well. They are living very well. Golf courts, they are enjoying and living their best fucking lives. Believe me. And if you get a chance, drive through a fucking white community and see how they living. See what they doing. We're saying they're living large and they're doing very well for themselves, and they ain't act like they ain't got a care in the motherfucking world. So we should be doing the same thing, building our shit and getting our shit together. And really, that's all I want to say. And I'll land my plane. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Black Native. Thank you. Real quick, let me go ahead and get to Welsing. Then we're going to start getting to some of the new speakers. I'm going to get to Wilson and Volvo, and then we're going to start getting to some of our new speakers. Wilson, go ahead and unmute your mic.
Hey, what's up, Twain? Hey, Twain, hold on a second. Before you go, how you doing, by the way? Hey, get in the Jumbotron, y'all. There's a tweet I put in there of a quote by Harry A. Corpus. I met this man in New York City like 20 years ago. And I was walking by, don't even quote me what block, but I was in Manhattan, you know what I mean? He outside selling his quotes, and that shit caught my eye so smooth. One may lack their confidence in the ability to succeed, and yet they are confident enough to judge in advance that they will fail. So that's kind of what he's talking about. Sometimes we have, I guess, a defeatist mindset, but we all only have that because of the systematic injustices placed upon our ancestors, our elders, and it's falling on us now. And it's just like, doesn't seem to be a solution in majority of our minds of what we could do to get out of that. So I think that's something like King Randall just don't understand. Everybody ain't gonna be self-employed to be a business person. Majority of us are already worker bees. But go ahead, Twin.
Yeah, I see what you're saying there.
Hey, Wilson, Sister Wilson, can you speak up? Can we get you a little bit louder if possible?
Sure. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you a little bit better.
Okay. I agree with what you're saying, Twin, to a certain point. But one thing that we have to understand as a collective, which I don't think we really, really do, is that we really, really, truly are. If you were to just extract everybody else in the United States and just look at the amount of money that Black people spend in the United States, I was reading that we would be the 8th largest economy in the world. That is nothing to sneeze at. That is where your power is.
Right, and I agree with all that too, but I just don't think we understand it. You know what I mean?
Well, that's what I'm saying. I don't think we understand it, and I think if we were to use a brand right now as a litmus test to that power, to that power, I think in my brand of choice would be McDonald's, because McDonald's is a private company that in the United States has a budget of $1.1 billion, a marketing budget for $1.1 billion with the B. And it is fact that they only spend $3 million in Black neighborhoods to brand across the United States. Now, it has been a cancer for McDonald's when it comes to Black people because they have been sued by Blacks. They've been franchisees have been sued by Black employees. They've been sued. They refuse to give back what we give them. Right? Business is a transactional thing. So I would say that if I could, in my power, say Black people sit out one brand and show the rest of the United States the power that we have, how we could affect somebody's bottom line, I think that could be a start. Right? Maybe it could be another brand. But we do have the power to make a difference. And it's a lived experience when we saw with the bus boycott. Okay? It did affect change back in the 60s. And we could do that today if we were to come together and choose one brand. I also wanted to say to someone else was saying about the liberals. Oh, I think it was Black Native, and I agree with her that the liberals want to continue to see Black people in this anemic economic state that we're in because it is a way for them to build this immigration system to eventually envelop us, 1,000%. I want to just make mention of Akon. I just think that he's just somebody that's got a platform, and I think he comes out and says things just to draw attention, and I think we should just give up on even responding to him because I think he's a waste of our time. Something that Denise said, when I was listening to everybody, including Denise, and to my thought process is that I think what I would like to see is to narrow the communication down to maybe 10 people that should be speaking on behalf of reparations for Black American people in this country. And these 10 people should have the expertise in a specific genre that is affecting Black American people and prove it. It's time, because what Denise was saying, we're getting a lot of white people now that want their reparations, and they will come up with all kinds of reasons that sound good. It's time now that we stop getting people that they start singing the old Negro spiritual. It's to begin there. It's like we need to get people in that are scholars in specific genres that have affected Black American people. Why we need the restorative justice claim. We need to start getting those 10 to 12 people only, nobody else. And those are the ones that are going to be speaking in front of the UN, speaking, to Congress, speaking to media, writing articles only, because it's time now. We're getting a lot of people that the delivery, you can't take them seriously. I just wanted to learn with that. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you, Sister Welsing. Let me go ahead, Vovo, and then we're going to go ahead and get to our new speakers. Go ahead real quick, Vovo.
Yeah, I was going to say that the weather is right. What all these people say the same thing?
Vovo, you kind of low too. Vovo, you kind of low.
Yeah, your mic low, bro.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to say that what he's saying is correct. Black people always late to the party. I keep saying that. I get bashed for it. Yeah, niggas late to the fucking party. I don't know who the King Randall guy is. I think that's the guy that built the school in Atlanta. I couldn't even place his face. But whoever that voice was, that's absolutely correct. We got to start now. We got to start acting like we already got reparations.
That's the right brother. That's the right brother you mentioned. That's him. The school in Atlanta.
We got to start acting like we already got it. When niggas open up their speech talking about peace, love, and reparations, I don't even take them serious. That's an instant red flag. Like, you ain't outside, bro. You can't be outside opening up like that. Yeah, we deserve reparations. We deserve reparations. We will get reparations. Whether it's in blood, whether it's through God, whether it's through the United States government, however you feel about that. We will get it. But that's all some niggas can't even talk about. They can't even say nothing else. They don't even know nothing about what's going on in the world. They in the house. They on Twitter all day. Just having these conversations, going space to space all day. I've been at work. I work 11 hours a day today. I'm going to be back up at 5 o'clock in the morning getting right back to it. I'm outside. The world ain't talking about that. The world ain't talking about that. That's a side conversation. So when somebody talking like that, and he like, why y'all under my comment section complaining about what I'm doing when he actually doing the work? He outside. He giving you game. You talking all this shit about you love black folks? Do your next door neighbor son know how to read? Do he know how to brush his teeth? Why he got that brown tooth on the side? Why eating all that candy? You should be the one like she might be on drugs. You should be like, hey, little boy, you should be the nice. I remember the nice lady in the neighborhood that always had something to say to us, and always told us get out the street or get out the way. You know what I mean? Them people don't exist no more. So like what the brother saying is correct. You know what I mean? Like if you ain't really doing no work and you online all day, you really need to be quiet. You really need to be quiet. I land there, brother, because I go all day. Appreciate you. Let me speak.
All right. Thank you, Vovo.
Let me ask you this, Vovo, right quick.
Real quick.
Are you saying that people shouldn't share the knowledge online? This is one of the best ways to educate our people is through this social app and other social apps, whatever it takes for us to get the education out there to our people. So I'm trying to understand where you're coming from here, brother. Are you trying to say that people shouldn't be online teaching about reparations? Is that what you're saying?
What I'm saying is that shouldn't be all you do. all day. Online, listen, like I always say, this smartphone, use the smartphone to be smart. This the greatest tool ever created by any. This the greatest tool that humanity has ever seen is this smartphone. Brother, I can tell by your country ass voice, you somewhere down south, dirt road, backwoods type nigga. Ain't no way that me and you would be able to speak 20 years ago, 25 years ago. Now we all connected. Newstoter in Florida, DJ in New Jersey. I'm in Cleveland. We all able to speak and share ideas. This is the greatest tool ever created. Period. So yeah, we supposed to use this, but then you gotta use you gotta use your knowledge. And you can know how to shoot the basketball, but eventually you gotta get on the court and play the game.
Okay, so here's the thing, Bobo. It's people on this app who are out there doing stuff besides being on this app. Now they on this app doing what they supposed to do, which is spread the message. But they also are doing other things. So you can do both. Both can be done. And I think a lot of people on this app are doing both.
Well, this is the thing though, right? A lot of people on this app not doing both, bro. It's a select few. Unless he wouldn't be complaining, and they wouldn't be complaining with him. What can you say about him? If this the guy that I'm thinking of, the guy that built the school in Atlanta, who got something bad to say about him? Who in his comment section complaining?
Black people, that's what he said.
Yeah, what type of black people are these? These the people that's in the rooms all day doing nothing with their life. Man, go do something, man. Go outside and do something. That's what I'm trying to say, brother. Go do something. Oh, all right, it's cool to do that. I enjoy doing this shit too. But then I'm outside spreading the message too. I'm talking about I'm in the real world too. That's what he's saying. If you really in the real world, then you can't have no complaints about what he.
All right. Thank you, Volvo. Thank you. If any speakers want to drop down, I see we got a new speaker. I want only speakers that come up here that's going to speak as well too. So if anybody that spoke right now want to drop down for a second, I'll bring you back up. Sister Wilson has decided to drop down. So only come up also, y'all, if y'all going to speak. Don't come up just to sit in the speaker spot and you're not going to speak now. Let me go ahead and get real quick to we're going to start getting to some of our new speakers as well, too. I want to go ahead and get to some of our new speakers as well. So let me go ahead and get to Phoenix. Phoenix, how you doing tonight, sister?
Oh, I'm beautiful. Thank you. This is a beautiful stage, too. All the speakers are, on fire.
Real quick, Phoenix. Real quick, is it possible to get you up a little bit? I can hear you. Can we get you up a little bit louder if possible?
Okay. Can you hear me now?
It's still kind of the same.
I'm sorry. I'm in a funny place because I'm working.
Okay. Now I can hear you a little bit clearer.
Okay. I'm putting my phone up anyway.
There you go, Bobo. Phoenix outside. There you go, Bobo.
And look, I had an
Pull up.
Yeah, because the people on YouTube saying they can't hear you. They saying I can't hear her. That's why I was trying to see. It's still the same, but go ahead. We'll work with you. But
let me get my other earbud.
That's a microphone issue from machine to machine, and unfortunately. But go ahead, Phoenix. Go ahead.
She getting she says she's getting a new set of headphones. So let's give her a second.
That's a microphone issue. Yeah. Uh-oh.
Let me hear you speak.
Okay.
Uh-oh. Sound like you're breaking up now.
Real quick, and I'll be quick. I just want.
You there? Phoenix, you.
Hey, sister, your phone in the matrix now. Yo.
Yeah, Phoenix, go. Yeah, can you hear us?
It's going robotish.
Yeah, come down and then come back up, and we'll bring you. We'll get you.
Clear your phone now. Close all them other apps in your phone. Just leave the Twitter up. Close Twitter out and just open it back up. And, that's it.
Real quick, Fred, you go ahead. Fred, how you doing tonight?
All right, can y'all hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yo. Yeah. All right. Yeah, I ain't got no problem with the King dude, but the only thing I would say is I would want all Black Americans to be careful. Like, whenever you spread that message of Malcolm X, just keep it in context. Because a lot of times you get these Sambos and however you put it, non-FBA, non-freedmen folks that'll come here and try to take that and run with it. They'll try to say, well, you guys don't have no excuse. This person here, he's of your same lineage, and he said you don't have no excuse. Like I say, there's any black American, anybody who descended from slavery in the territory known as the United States today, you always have a legitimate grievance when it comes to being sabotaged by white supremacy. I'll mute.
All right, thank you, Fred. Let me go ahead. I thought I saw Tammy back. I mean, I know Tammy's up here, but let me go ahead and get to New Negro. Go ahead and unmute your mic.
Peace and love. What's going on? It's Talent. Shout out to you guys for the space.
Oh, what's up, Talent?
All is well. Peace. I actually enjoyed what the young brother said, keeping in mind that he's a young brother. You feel me? He's 23 years old. Saw an issue in his community, and he actually just said, I'm going to get up there and do something to solve it. And I think this is the moment in time where the elders and those who actually are more informed of some of the structure situations, instead of sabotaging him, say, yo, what kind of curriculums do you have in your school? Let me see if I could throw something your way. So while you're building with some of these young brothers and you graduating them to the next level, they know how to elude some of the situations. They know how to get into some of these federal dollars from corporate jobs and, contracting and things of that nature. And it was disappointing to me to see some people who are at the lead of this reparations conversation kind of position a stance as if we can't do two things at the same time. Historically, we've been fighting white supremacy as well as building our own. We have a large history of us being more segregated and integrated, and a lot of trying years when we established ourselves in the heart of some of the most brutality of vicious racial terror that we had. So if he's looking at it from being 23 years old, seeing that, slaves came off the plantation and was able to be scholars, I'm going to take that as motivation. He's looking at it as I see issues in my community as it pertains to the young brothers, and I opened up the school. I think understanding that standpoint is if he hasn't felt limited by white supremacy, then it's not, like, who is someone else to say, well, what about white supremacy? And he's like, man, I'm a black man that came from this community, saw concern, and I wanted to do something about it. And I think not everyone in the reparations space, but there are many voices in the reparations space that kind of profit off of keeping people stabilized under this idea that we can't do anything until we get repair, while those individuals sit from a position of asking for donations and possibly living a better life than those people that they are speaking for. We kind of call that poverty victim. And I commend the brother for actually doing something at 23. So anybody that's against that and not looking to try to organize with the brother to leverage the impact that he's creating to broaden the conversation of reparations seems to be a sabotage to me. And I think that's when we kind of get into some of these generational issues where the young G's and the young girls and they like, listen, we out here trying to figure it out. And the first thing y'all gonna say to us is something is wrong with what we doing because we just trying to motivate us. And how about he's talking to his generation? What if he's talking to the young people who 23 and under, saying, listen, while the older folk focus on that, let's get out here because gun violence is crazy. We not really getting no opportunities. Let's start putting ourselves together to do something. But for older people to kind of personalize that, I think it gets all tolerant, and I didn't see it that way. When it comes to Dr. Phil, I watched that, and I think what was dangerous in what he presented on that TV to me was that black man that was talking back. Like, black people don't need this. We don't need that. The older black man, while you got these younger folks talking about something, you had the black woman who was talking about how she was able to get the inherited land and how that benefited her. You had the other black woman talking about we can do two things at the same time that is due. But then you still had that older black man kind of giving Super Bowl vibe, talking about, well, we don't need no reparations. We don't need this, that, and the third. All we need to do is just to take care of our kids and stop being single dads. And then if we were to compare the two conversations, what that man said is way more different and damaging than what anybody would be offended by King Randall. And Dr. Phil, we already know what they're going to do on their side. But with having Dr. Sandy Darity there, I do think that actually added a little bit of integrity because Dr. one of the champions for reparations. So I'm not going to look at it as a total flop. I think that just having that conversation is powerful enough, no matter if white people agree with it or not. And when it comes to the Akon situation, listen, man, there's a big play to try to get us to go to Africa. And maybe that's the kind of bait and switch our power here, since we advocating for what is owed to us, and maybe a part of somebody's agenda, because these are all agendas. A part of whatever agenda is being paid for by the following is to try to create some new level of affinity with the motherland, no different than what they did in the 70s, or integration, no different than what they did in the 90s with Jesse Jackson. And all of those things come with an interest that the government has and wanting to put people in positions to take advantage and to represent us. So we lose sight of what we need to be doing here. And now is not the time to be looking at the motherland.
All right. Thank you, Talent. Like I said, I didn't know that was your profile there too. So shout out to you. You go ahead and get Phoenix. Do you want to speak now? Can you speak?
Can you hear me? You can come back to me. I just wanted to say, I was going to tell you about my day. Amen to King Randall. And it's like, I think 21 or 23 years old or something like that, and opened up a school. We started at 19. So, I mean, there is nothing that this young man is doing wrong at all. It's all blessed and it's all good. And I think he is, like Terrence has, speaking to his generation. And that's what we speak to, right? So, hey, it's just, it's a beautiful thing. And he is saying, he is speaking nothing but the truth. Nothing but the truth. And we need to do a little bit more. And we need to be acting as if we have it already. Because it ain't going to do like some magical collective agreement that we're going to do things the right way. We need to be in practice right now as we are speaking and doing collective evil. So, he's 100% on point. But I was just going to say, I was out and I met these young ladies from Mississippi, and I was able to speak to them about taking up positions in Mississippi. And when I explained, how to do it and do it as a collective slate and with, the votes, and they were all for it. So, real time, real conversations, real action, and that's what we definitely get on every level. So I'll land there. Thank you. I'm working right now.
All right. Thank you, Phoenix. Let me give a shout out to, we had 3 people that subscribed to the YouTube channel while the space has been going on too. So thank you to those who have subscribed. You guys can find the YouTube channel. It's the 5th one on the right up in the Jumbotron. It's the 5th one on the right. So let's say we can get at least 5 people to subscribe while the actual space is going on. So if you haven't subscribed, go ahead and subscribe. Go ahead and click that 5th one in the actual Jumbotron. Go to YouTube and subscribe while the actual space is going on as well too. So thank you for those who have subscribed. Big shout out to you. Rella, what's going on tonight? How you doing?
Hey, Newstoter. Hey, DJ and Professor.
What's up, Rella?
Hey, Professor, there's nothing wrong with you being from the country. A lot of beautiful people came out of the South, especially from Alabama. So I just want you to know that.
Thank you.
At the end of the day, everybody has their opinion, and like everyone, we all have a asshole, and we all gonna speak it. So I have one, and I'm gonna speak mine. And mine is based off of my experiences and the things that I'm involved in. King Randall has done something great in regards to starting a school, but also there is a emptiness when it comes to the school systems that are in place that our children attend. You do not see a lot of Black parents at town hall meetings or school board meetings. One, from what I have seen and what I've gathered, is the exhaustion of having to be a Black American parent in the counties that you probably live in, and 2, the unawareness of what's going on with your school system until you hear about it on TV. Most of us are aware that if you are involved on any level in the community, that reading has always been an Achilles heel for this generation, the generation before. Stop, Coco. Coco, the generation before ours, in that even before then. However, it was crazy because coming out of emancipation in the Reconstruction era, our ancestors made sure and made it a known thing that reading was to be an important thing, education, period. So I think from what I hear, I sometimes I cringe because when I hear other people's opinions about people who come with a love and light approach to our people, I believe that they are doing that because they are trying to find the common ground, which is one, love, and then two, the approach to open the door to have dialogue and a conversation. So I don't take people who use the love and light and reparations slogan when they enter our spaces or in a room, because that is to me, a way for people to try to put on the ointment, because we know how hard sometimes our people are. What I do take offense to is that people who do not get involved and tell you that you should not reinvest your time, which is a part of reading, into understanding our historical standpoint. We already know, and it has been uncovered within the last 10 to 20 years, that we have been miseducated. The narrative has not been ours fully, and that we have been walked into a burning building. But in order to get to that point, you have to have read and have understanding and comprehension to know that these things have occurred. So with that being said, I agree that we have to take action, but we also have to have the wherewithal and the ability to communicate with all levels of life in our community and get people active. It's not just the boule community, as people like to say, that has done us a disservice. It is also those in our community that have harmed us to keep us unaware and try to use the knowledge of our history to keep us from taking action. There are two ends of the spectrum that is working against the middle. And if you don't understand that, and your only precipice is to point out what other people are doing in regards to their own individual time and space, then it's not them that has the problem, it's you. And you have to find a way to get around that. You have to find a way to master yourself. And that is one of our biggest issues. And I am not separate from that. I am including myself. The biggest problem that we have mastering is ourselves. That is the reason why we can't seem to master collectively, and we keep branching off and creating splinters of groups, because we only want to hear a particular part of an information, or this sounds better and that sounds better, instead of actually looking at it as one whole. I said this in the other space, reading the room is so important. But when I hear people use the term, if you doing this and if you doing that, if we have not done, maybe changing our perspective and how we approach each other. I welcome people who don't want to own businesses to approach, because if we want people who are the worker bees to have a place to work, then business owners need to have quality businesses. And we need support in doing that. If we want people to get involved and to be able to support our children, then we need the men and the women who have the resources and connections to make sure that we start to get those things done.
Hey, Rella, one quick question. One quick question.
Yes, sir.
So basically, from what you're saying, are you supporting King Randall, or are you not supporting?
I support him.
Okay.
I do support what he has done as a young man, and what he will do as he ages and as his mind matures. Because it's not new what he's doing. He's just taking action at such a young age, and I think in the beginning when he started, what most people had from what I read and what I saw when he first came out was, it wasn't that he was a Democratic shield, it was that he actually was more of a Republican in a conservative kind of way, which is why he also mentioned that, he's not speaking from a Republican standpoint, but his own view. And so most people see the clips like they did with everyone else when they have a problem, but they don't follow people to find out what were the issues of a thing. And so, and I'll speak to also the Dr. Phil situation. I was very upset with that older gentleman who tried to speak on behalf of the free Black American Negroes, or the free Black American freedmen that were, a part of the freedmen community after it was built, that also held slaves, as he tried to say, well, are slaves going to be paying reparations? The free people who own slaves, and I push back, and this is where reading is comprehension and history meets. Also, people were buying their family members or buying people out of slavery so that they can live in one community, not under the hand of a white slave owner that was abusing and lynching their people. So I really hated that he used that narrative as such as somehow the free Black people that came into the United States are participants of the chattel slavery. The families that did get their freedom, they had to move to another state because they couldn't stay in the states where they had bought their freedom, and then they end up going and buying their own family members out of bondage. They still would be a part of the story. So again, you have people who will misuse information for their benefit just so that they can try to say that they're making a point. But the points aren't always true, is what I'm saying. So, Akon and Africa, we've already pointed this out, that you have groups of people that get to come here freely. In today's time, under the Citizenship Act that was for our ancestors, and they get to take resources and send it back to their home countries. Akon was a true pillar of that. And as much as he might have done for his people in, I think it was Sierra Leone, I believe is where he's from.
Senegal, I believe.
Oh, Senegal. Okay, thank you. He still took from our community. And not just took from our community, he also robbed a lot of the intellectual information through music, and then tried to come back and slap us in our face with it and say, my goal is to bring so many people back to Africa. And I'll tell people till this day, my motherland is where my grandmother, great-grandmother, and great-great-grandfather, my fifth great-grandparents, sixth great-grandparents birthed my lineage. And I don't think it is right if we're going to chastise a few people and not actually go and not push back on the people who are trying to keep this migration conversation up and try to force us to go somewhere we do not want to go, but don't want to help us build here. And this goes for Americans, Black Americans, who we see all day long hosting organizations like Narcan and Cobra, people who want to degrade our history because they want us to look away from that while their hand is actually stabbing us in our backs. So Akon, to me, should have just went back to his home country and did for his home country. But if he wanted to start a trade with the Americans in our country, he could have done that, but he didn't do that. Instead, he slapped us in the face with what he did. So anybody that supports him, any producers, anybody that actually helped him in doing that and saying that, oh well, we support Akon. No, we should be pushing back on him and everybody else that tries to run us down with that whole repatriation conversation. So, in newsflash, our ancestors were not talking about repatriating. That's the reason why Booker T. Washington and Marcus Garvey was an issue, and most people don't read about that either. So, that's all I have to say. And I say this: be easy with yourselves and be easy with each other. Because for everyone that steps into this arena, it will be new to them, but it will be old for them because the trauma is true. And you have to be able to, as Welsing said, articulate the information, spread the information, and be able to get people up to speed. We are turning so many people away that nobody even wants to acknowledge us in our history. If that is not your mission, then you need to, again, master yourself. And I land. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Rella. Go ahead and get to Tammy. Queen B, I know you had your hand up earlier, but I see it's down, so I don't know if you still want to speak after Tammy. But go ahead, Tammy. Unmute your mic.
What's up, Newstoter?
Thank you for having me say, Newstoter. Hey, y'all. It's been a good day for me. I've been out in nature. And, you know, it's so funny because I was walking in Walmart.
Hey, Tammy, is there any way that you can speak up a little bit louder?
Let me take y'all off the speaker and let me do my thing. Because I want this to be heard.
Yeah, do your thing, Newstoter. Do your thing.
What about now?
Yeah, we can hear you better.
Okay. Wait. I want you to hear me well. Let me just... Hold on. Is that better?
It's pretty much the same.
Go ahead, Tammy. We can hear you, though. Just go ahead.
Let me work on getting it down. But let me just say this. I was walking through Walmart, and I thought, Dr. Field, how dare you? How dare you have an opinion about a experience you have not had? We have got to remember that these people who speak, who we get so wrapped up in, are having opinions about experiences they have not had. And for any of them to have an opinion is very disrespectful. And I said, you know what we need to do? We got all these, shows that are, what are they called? The show, I don't forgot. But let's do a show, and let's see how many white people sign up to do slavery for a month, like Survivor. Instead of surviving, you go into slavery. And we go back to the 1800s, the 1700s, when we first got off the boat. We're going to fly y'all to Africa. And we're going to put y'all on a boat. No, we're going to capture you first from your family. Put you on a boat. You're going to make that trip. We're going to take you off the boat, and you're going to do all of that. How many volunteers do you think we'll have? We go through it every day. And it's not because of the boat. You don't want to acknowledge trauma. And Dr. Phil, you embarrassed the hell out of a profession where we know Black people have suffered and are still suffering from a trauma that we will probably never, ever end. Because it's in our DNA. That's in us. It's like racism is in the DNA of America. Trauma is in the DNA of Black people and their descendants. So that's what I have to say about that. I had a lot more to say, but I thought about that and I said, they're not signing up to go through what we went through. And for you to have an opinion about reparations, how dare you? How dare you, America? And we're not getting mad about that because we should have had $26,000 a year or whatever it is. Every damn program that they created, y'all, we've not benefited from it. You tell me, name me one program that we benefited from that America created for the Black community. And if so, why in 2023 we still have quote unquote ghettos that they created the name for, welfare queens that they created the name for, affirmative action that they're trying to do, suing the Black farmers. And we don't get behind them. Black people will sit up here and talk, but the financial support, even with this Newstoter and your show, it needs financial support. And we will sit up here and say, what a great show. And we won't give them 50 cents. We do not overwhelmingly give money to programs that need us to survive. Talk about, all of this stuff, what we don't do, social, we won't even come and just sign up for the shit. Now, we going to stay on Twitter. They don't give a shit about you on Twitter. Black people, we support overwhelming because I don't know, this segregation for me, I never would have thought I agree with segregation until I started studying my history. Every single time we bounce back. But when we are forcing ourselves to be included in the white system, we are dogged out. We don't get no funding. We don't get no money. We don't get anything, and we still try to do it. Anyway, that's that on that. I'm familiar with King Randall. Supported him. One thing about King Randall is I don't think we should have anything bad to say about anybody who's taken black young men who are in this environment and trying to do better. He doesn't want to take any money from the government. I think that's that's where we bump heads at. But that's his program. We got to realize that the federal government money is our money. We pay taxes. That is black people's money. All of these grants and stuff, that's our money. And we don't fight for it. We just say, oh, we didn't get it. Probably nobody up in here who has a nonprofit has ever gotten a grant that was overwhelmingly high, like $53 million. And y'all know I've been complaining about that forever. I didn't get one inbox, so let's go fight this. $53 million to one company on suicide prevention. We don't support each other. We gotta come together. And y'all know I say I'm gonna show up. And I mean that sincerely. And showing up doesn't necessarily mean in person. It means that you can call, write letters, encourage somebody, check on them. It is so many ways that we can reinforce our support. But monetarily, yeah, we'll go buy a doggone $50 lipstick or a $50 record collection, and we won't give $5 to a black business who try to make it and doing something positive in the community. We'll watch.
Facts on that.
Nobody should be watching any sport with black people. And the black people shouldn't be participating in it. They worried about they stuff making money. What about the dog? We are in the same position in the black community. Why do we still have low income? I could go so much further. But for people who narrate, I can tell you ain't studied true history past the 60s. When you study true history past the 60s, the 20s, 30s, the 1800s, you'll fall in love with black people. Because I struggle and I get choked up. Because I love black people. Our struggle, we always make it, y'all. We are the people who bounce back. I don't give a damn whether you mass incarcerate. I don't give a damn whether you are trying to not hire us on, jobs, not giving us grants, not showing us how to economically survive in a white society. We still make it. And that's beautiful. And I don't even know why we got Akon up in this thing. Who cares about Akon? Akon showed who he was. And, really, your comment, loved it. But you know one other thing about Akon? Yeah, he got us. But don't everybody? Everybody gets black people and we don't say nothing. We sit back. Where's all the outrage of Tony Majors? What's his name? Tony Tracy? Whatever his name is. Where's the outrage? I appreciate y'all. Y'all done got me worked up.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Tammy. Let me give a shout out to Denise. I see that you subscribe to the YouTube channel as well, too. So like I said, the spaces, I have to keep repeating it, but our people, they are actually subscribing and stuff like that, too. So we're using the spaces to get more subscriptions and stuff like that. But not only that, y'all, when y'all do subscribe, share it to some of your followers on social media as well, too. Let them know if you got any friends or family members. Let them know about the actual YouTube channel so we can get more subscriptions as well too. And Tammy, thank you for that support also about getting help and stuff financially on some of these spaces as well. I keep trying to tell everybody, I know everybody, they come to the spaces and stuff, but I'm trying to tell people like Newstoter is its own platform. Like the spaces is a very small thing. We just started doing these spaces within the last year. Newstoter has been around for going on 6 years. So we've been curating news from other Black-owned sources for 6 years. So it's been getting more popular lately, and the spaces have been a big help with that. But I just want people to know, like, during the course of the day, we're curating news, and we're you can visit the site periodically throughout the day whenever you want to. So the spaces are just a very small thing of what we do. I mean, it's every day you get news and content and everything like that as well too. So when people just say, well, yeah, the spaces and this and that, yeah, I just look at it and I take it as a compliment, but that's a very tiny thing of what actually goes on as well too, guys. So it's actually a website. If you have not been to newstoter.com, please visit newstoter.com daily. Make at least one visit there. Check it out. Surf the site. Come across content. Click on read more. Go to the actual site. If you click on the read more and you're having issues, that means that you have a pop-up blocker. So disable your pop-up blocker so you can actually travel to the main site and read the entire article. We curate news. We send traffic to other people's sites. So that's the main thing too. In the course of 6 years, we send tens of thousands of visitors to Black-owned websites. So it serves a purpose. We send traffic to other Black-owned sources and sites as well too. So the actual spaces here, this is new. Just started the spaces back in May. So this is a small segment, and I am grateful for it. I'm grateful to people that appreciate it or whatever. I can't have a space where I can cover all the news daily, so you have to pick and choose what you can cover and stuff like that. But this is just a very minute thing of what actually goes on. Like I say, if you actually, and you guys may follow, but I don't think you follow and you have the notifications clicked, because throughout the course of the day, you may see, especially Monday through Friday, you're going to see 30 to 40 articles a day being curated and being sent on Twitter. So guys, just make sure you check that out. And shout out to you again, Tammy. And for anybody that wants to subscribe to the YouTube channel, it is the fifth one on the right-hand side. The fifth one on the right-hand side. Make sure you go ahead and click on that. And for anybody that wants to support us on Cash App, Newstoter is the largest Black-owned media news curation platform today in America. That is $Newstoter, $Newstoter. Once again, the largest Black-owned, Black American-owned news media curation platform today in America. That is Newstoter, $Newstoter, $Newstoter. That's on Cash App. If you don't have a Cash App, we have the Venmo and PayPal up in the Jumbotron as well too. Denise, I see you came back up here. Was there anything that I know you don't have your hand up, but would you like to add to the discussion tonight?
Hello, everybody. Can you hear me? Because last time I spoke on Twitter, they was like, "We can't hear you."
Yeah, we can hear you loud and clear.
Well, I'd like to say hello to my brothers and sisters before I start. Yeah, I got plenty to say. My first thing before we go here for me is Akon, miss me with the bullshit. That's a red herring, as they say in the movie Clue. They've been talking that mess forever. And haven't we all learned how that really works? Or did we all forget when they allowed what we are now calling teaching, when those people went over and did they did absolutely nothing? So no, I will not be going to anybody's Africa. My home is right here in America. So whatever Akon just said, he talking out the side of his neck, as Cameo would say. I don't listen to him. And in reference to King Randall, everything that the young man is doing is 100% correct. It is time. It's been a long time coming that we all started preparing to move along. Because as long as we play that game with white supremacy, we will still be 13% and we'll still be, below the poverty level and the whole 9 yards. We gotta move, okay? We're not. I personally don't think that we should do it as peacefully as we have been doing it. Okay, we need to get with the program for real. Okay, I think it was Brother Bobo that said was talking about China and that stuff. This country been selling off parts of it since all the way back in the 60s when they started with the automotive industry. Okay. I don't know why in that Sam hell nobody has been paying attention, but that stuff started all the way back when I was born. I'm 1967. Okay, they've been doing that mess. Okay, And America would rather sell their asshole and shit through their side than to do anything for black people. So anybody who's under the delusion that the thing that's going on with China just happened, stop being delusional. They've been doing that on purpose since all the way back in the 60s. Okay? They have been doing that. The other thing that I wanted to speak on was that I don't quite understand why everybody was attacking King. I didn't understand that, why they were attacking that young man. Or am I talking about the wrong person? You know, I feel that we've had numerous examples on how to do this. Or did anybody forget about Black Wall Street? You know why that place survived and they tore it down? Because we were a community. We were concerned about not only our children, but everybody else's children. You know, that old saying, it takes a village to raise a child. Where do you really think it came from? It didn't come from white folks. It came from us. Because we took care of our own, and we need to get back to that 100%. Because if we're waiting for them to do it, please miss me. I don't know which sister it was that was saying she didn't understand why King Randall didn't take government money. I kind of understand why he didn't do it. I would like to believe that the reason why the young man didn't do it is because the moment you start taking government money, their white supremacy government money, then they want to come in there and tell you what to do with it and how to run it. Okay? I don't blame him. I wouldn't take not one red cent from them. If it's under reparations, that money comes about, yes. But under the way, taking it from the system that's in place right now, I wouldn't do it with a 10-foot pole because we all have seen how as soon as we get something, they want to come over here and take. We get an example right now. Okay, and it ain't even us. It's the Chinese. The reason why they are hollering about quote unquote TikTok and all the information that's being leaked, like freaking Facebook and all the rest of them ain't been doing it for years. No, they want to go over there and take that damn platform over because they want to line their pockets. So I get why the young man probably didn't want to take money because he didn't want them in his pod trying to help us, his people. I'm gonna land on that.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Denise. Let me real quick, and I'm gonna get to Black, and I'm gonna get to Rella, and I want to read a comment real quick. Monty put up here. He says a criticism. He's talking about King Round. He says the criticism is not about what the brother said, but how he said it. He's repeating white supremacy talking points to make his argument. He's being a useful idiot to white supremacy that would use his words to justify systematic racism, denial of real discrimination. Now, I've heard some people say, and I'm not entirely sure because, I heard of King Randall last year. Some people are saying that, he's had issues or he said certain things that they found, I guess, a little bit funny when it comes to reparations, that they felt that, he wasn't the biggest supporter of them. I don't know. I've heard some things, but we're going to let some of and I know Black, he has something up here as well, too, in the actual comment section. So I'm going to let Black Majority State come on up here and say what he has to say as well, too. So go ahead, Black, you got it.
Okay. I hope you can hear me. Wow. So, yeah, so let me start with a positive then on the story. And shout out to Monty because I do share his sentiment as well. But, yeah, so let me start with the positive. He is a young Black male. He's in Albany, Georgia. And I haven't had a chance to look at the demographics of that city or that area, but salute to him for having a goal and accomplishing it. He is a conservative Black male, so let's make sure that we understand that. And I have a lot of people that I've met on Twitter who are Black conservatives who have shocked me, to be quite honest. Shocked me, and so I salute all the Black conservatives who are not the typical Larry Elders of the world, because we all know where that goes. In this particular case, and I did post a bunch of things down in the chat that are problematic to me. he travels in conservative circles. So he was at the CPAC. He takes pictures with Donald Trump and other people who are problematic, in my opinion, in that way. He does get government funding through the state of Georgia with Kemp, because they get $6,000 vouchers for students to attend his school. I don't like anybody who uses Malcolm X and or Martin Luther King to punish, abuse, or to negate Black Americans. I think that he took the quote completely out of context, because that was 60 years ago. It was a different time. We were coming out of a much different period. And so I think maybe because of his youth, he simply used the quote in an abusive manner, not to uplift Black people, but actually to beat down on Black Americans. If you go through his timeline, which I have taken some time to do, there are some other problematic areas within it, outside of him talking about the school and the boys, which that's all positive. He's pro 2A, so he is a gun advocate. But outside of that, whenever the conversation becomes critical against him or some other thing, he really kind of leans on, being, what's the word?
Condescending.
Well, a little more than that. I think I'll stick with beating down on Black Americans, to be quite honest. So there's one that I posted where there was this, and I guess this was a couple years ago, but there was this march or rally that they had, and the image is of a Black hand and a white hand shaking hands, and it is a I Am a Man rally, which harkens back to the 60s, where Black men were walking around with these I Am a Man posters, and there's actually a picture of him and these boys with this I Am a Man, these posters. And he's got that tweet of the poster, which is what it is. Okay, great, you're trying to bridge this gap. I get it. But then above it, it's like N-word, this, blah, blah, blah. And then above that, it's, well, what was wrong with white people being at the rally? So whenever he's confronted with issues that it appears he's either using his Black flesh in order to gain access to these white conservative dollars, and people give him pushback, he then comes back, because even he uses the word reparations flippantly, like he's saying, oh, I'm getting reparations. Oh, you don't want to help fund my school, but what about reparations? Oh, I thought we were getting reparations. So he's really playing this game, to be quite honest. And just looking at his timeline, it looks to me that he's really way over headed down the Larry Elder path. If you gave this guy 20, 30 years, he would turn into a Larry Elder. And so while people are trying to kind of correct it at this stage, while it's early, I just hope some people who are close to him can kind of get into conversations with him and kind of guide him back towards the path of, it's okay to be conservative, it's okay to be liberal, but at the end of the day, Black Americans should be first in everything that you do. And so I would just hope people can help center what he's doing down that road. The other thing I didn't like, where he said Black people are the ones who are trying to burn his school down. Because as soon as I heard that, it reminded me of the video where there were some local authorities who wanted to do some inspections on the building, which is normal. It's a school, it's a boarding house. So they're going to do these regular routine inspections. And it was a white, it's hard to tell because it's a grainy video, but there were two Black gentlemen and it looked like a white gentleman. However, I don't know a whole lot about Georgia, but Black people are not running Georgia. As far as I understand, white people still run Georgia. And so he made no mention of that. And I got to assume if you posted that and Black people actually were out there trying to burn your building down, you would be posting that as well. And I don't see any signs of that.
Can I ask a question?
Wait. Tammy, let him go ahead and finish up, and then let's let Black go ahead and finish up.
Yeah, so that's pretty much the end. And like I said, I did do the reparations thing. He might have mentioned it like 5 or 6 times, but it's not like uplifting reparations or, the check. It's all kind of used as a condescending, in comparison to, I need y'all to donate to my school, that's reparations. And so it kind of is a little weird in that aspect. But I'll end on that, and yeah. So shout out to Monty, because he's picking up on something that I picked up on, because I don't like anybody misquoting Malcolm X. I'm going to be real honest with you. Put it in context, understand that that's a different time period, and you have to be able to filter the information and apply it to our situation today, not just take it as a black and white quote for something that was going on 60 years ago.
All right. Thank you, Black. And like I said, I had noticed what Monty put up there, and I've noticed a couple other people. I've seen some tweets that Marcel and Tariq Nasheed and a couple other people had out there as well, and not just even so much the high-profile people, but other people were saying certain things as well too about some of the comments that he made. I know I read something that, and I didn't take offense to it. He said that I think last year when the Till movie came out, he said he wasn't taking the kids from his school to see it because he was tired of the black victimhood or the black trauma type movies and things of that nature as well. And I can understand that to a certain degree, because you see it so much. Like, we all know the Emmett Till story without even actually having to go to a movie and watch it. So I can understand that. But at the same point in time, for a lot of those kids who don't know about it, I think it would be a good thing to educate them on history as well too. So as a grown person, I can understand you like, well, man, I'm from the era like that. Every year Roots came on, we had to sit and watch it. Like, you had to watch Roots, and they don't put the kind of stuff on the civil rights movement that they used to put on. Like, I mean, when it came Black History Month, Martin Luther King, I mean, we was watching so many different things growing up in my household as well too. You had to watch it. So, I can understand what he's saying to a certain degree, but those kids, most of them at that school, they don't know who Emmett Till is. So, I think it would be good for them to actually learn about it, educate them on exactly, because my mom, I was a young kid when she told me, I was like, well, who was Emmett Till? And she was telling me about the casket and everything that was on, I believe, Jet magazine, and how he was beaten and killed and this and that. So to us, you had to learn about it. So, I don't think it's a bad thing. I understand we get tired of slave movies all the time, and we get tired of history only being shown us as being subjugated to white folks and stuff like that. So I can understand that. But at the same time, you do need to learn some of that history as well too. And I know he said that he only wants to show black people being victorious and triumphant and everything like that. But I think you can mix both, and you have to be historically. You have to look at the plight of black people in this country. And we weren't always on top. We're not on top right now. So realistically, you do have to show that. You do have to show the actual struggle that Black Americans. Now, if you want to go back further in history and show black people at a time where they led monarchs and kingdoms and empires and things of that nature, and their position in the ancient world, all for that. I would love to see that. I think you need more of that as well. You definitely need a lot more of that. But I don't have an issue with anybody wanting to actually for educating kids on what Emmett Till went through and what so many other black people in this country went through at a certain time. So that's just my take. Rella, I got Rella, Denise, and then Tammy. I'm gonna get to you as well too. So Rella, go.
Can I just ask a question?
But then who you asking the question to? Who you asking the question? Because then we trying to get it back and forth. So if you ask a question and they gonna ask a question and that person's gonna ask back, go back. What's your question that you want to ask real quick, Tammy?
I wanted to just ask Black, was he sure about the state funding from Kemp? Because Kemp used that as an election opportunity. He used him, and I know because I worked with King and Randall until we split. I just didn't like the way he was doing things, so I had to step back a little bit. I don't think Kemp has been back to the school since before he got reelected. He used him for a opportunity.
Okay, well, I'm gonna let Black come up real quick and answer that. But like I said, y'all, let's try to keep our positions as well, because we have other people that be waiting as well. So I'm gonna let Black come up and answer that. Go ahead, Black.
Okay, yeah. So to that, only because I'm going down his timeline, his picture with Kemp. He's got multiple pictures with Kemp. He's got the kids, behind the desk with Kemp and his staff, and he is touting this $6,000 that would pay for tuition to the school. The other quick thing I want to say, he seems to be a big fan of Booker T. Washington. And so he kind of is putting that curriculum in. So if he's putting that in, I don't understand why the Emmett Till wouldn't also be relevant. He talks about Malcolm X. He talks about Martin Luther King. Matter of fact, there's a photo of a Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, the Georgia edition, on the day that King was assassinated. And he says that he saw that at 18, and this was like his breakout moment. But he also references other things that he saw as his breakout moment. So, yeah, okay.
Thank you, Black. And like I say, I don't understand that either. If he saw that about King, I don't see the issue about Emmett Till. What would be such a reason why you wouldn't want the kids to actually see that movie? Or if you're not going to take them to see the movie, at least cover it in class and let them know exactly what happened and how. Emmett Till was one of the biggest events that ever happened in American history. It really spearheaded the civil rights movement. So I don't know how you can say that, if you don't want your kids to actually see the movie, fine, one thing. But you should at least teach them exactly what happened and the actual ramifications and how it actually inspired Black people to go ahead and push for true freedom in this country. So I don't, I have a little issue with that as well, right there as well too. I don't understand that one myself, and I just want to know, and I'm gonna kick it to you, Rella. Does he come from a family that's well-to-do? Because how did he exactly start this action so young? How did he start a school like that? I know you had to get donations, and I'm sure he probably got a grant or whatever, but he's only 23, I believe, right now. So when he actually started this school, how did he go about that, and how was he able to get funding and, just go ahead and, do something that a lot of older people themselves have an issue with? So how was he able to go ahead and just, find a way to go ahead and do that? So let me go ahead and kick it to you, Rella, real quick. You got it.
Thank you, Newstoter, and thank you, Black American Homeland and Monty, for mentioning that. I was already had a lot on my brain that I was trying to get off, so that's why I only briefly stated that he was a conservative who had conservative views, and people were pushing back online in regards to a lot of the things he did when he came out at 21. And I'm gonna say this again, and I always say this: your conservative position of who you are and your liberal position of who you are, that, as Black stated, that honestly should not trump you being for your people. And that's why I mentioned before, if you hear someone telling you that you need to stop bringing up your history, when in fact we literally have proven our history has been told to us in such a degrading way, to the point where people to associate with knowing their lineage until reparations discussions came about on the national stage by way of Twitter and the Reparations movement and Dr. Shirley Weber in today's time. And most people don't even bring up John Conyers in the meeting that happened back in, I believe it was it 1999, I believe? Might be further back, 94 maybe. But all I'm saying is that I don't like when people abuse our ability to decipher information, and then for the people who have the wherewithal to do so, they misuse it, whether they're conservative or liberal. I don't like that, and I've seen that in instances. People want us to, carry along and get along with them as long as we speak their point of view. But then the moment we bring up the fact that we need repair and trauma, then somehow now we have to cartel our language to fit their ability to see us as human and our humanity. And I'm just not for that. I don't care about that. And I agree that, again, if you are listening to people and you get a discernment in your spirit, down in your shanana, and somebody is telling you to do something that goes against you as an American descendant in this country, you are to fight back and make sure that you stand on the grounds of your ancestors, and making sure that we are controlling the narrative. I wanted to say that Newstoter, can't wait till, and I'll speak this till the day is long, that you outgrow CNN. that you outgrow MSNBC. And that even goes for the Freedman News Network. Because for some reason, we don't get the opportunity to represent ourselves. We need more journalists like Denise Long. We need more reporters that are going to go out in the community and report on information that we want to see that's being highlighted. We need people who are going to show up in these meetings. And yes, utilize social media. And damn near get social and all the other Black American platforms that are being built to at least 300,000 and move off of these platforms so that we don't have to curtail our talking points and repairing ourselves and getting information disseminated amongst ourselves. Yes, and we damn sure need to demand a recount of our population. I don't believe that we 12, 13, 14, and the number fluctuates between those, the medium, I would say, I guess 13. I don't believe that we are that low of a population. I believe that we are over 32% of the population, and I believe that they not want us to get to a point where we demand that. And so when I see and hear Black conservatives like Larry Elder or Jason, when I see those types of people who want to push back on reparations, they don't want us to get a full repair, so we actually get a bird's eye view of how big we are, how much that we've survived this Holocaust that we've lived in. We can talk about everything else in little organizations that we develop. You want to talk about money, you want to talk about developing businesses, trying to get people involved. Social has all of that already. Rooms available. I remember Denise actually was hosting a space that I didn't get to go to in regards to law and how to actually go about in challenging the system of where you're at. The Black majority state. None of this has to be difficult. I think we're just finding out that a lot of us are in so many different areas and places and level of education that now we're fighting again against each other, trying to find common ground, when all you have to do is hear certain terms, and that is your common ground. And then we break out of the nuances and deep dive that way. It does not have to be difficult. We're making it difficult. And I land.
All right. Thank you, Rella. Let me go ahead and get to Denise. Denise, go ahead and unmute your mic.
Hey, so I'm going to say this quickly. And I know other people have noticed this. There's a segment of Black conservatism that flirts with sort of this pro-Blackness, but it's a tweak of the white rhetoric around being focused on victimhood, right? It is, we're pro-Black, but we don't subscribe to progressivism because it's devastated Black communities. We don't subscribe to victimhood. We're pro-Black. So we're pro-Black, but we want y'all to, lift yourselves up by your bootstraps. This is really interesting. I'm sure you've noticed that. And so I think that what you're seeing with this young man is somewhat aligned with that. I don't know and don't hear the extent to which he's formally involved with all of that, but my assessment, just watching how people move, is that's part of it. I think you're going to see more and more of that. These so-called pro-Black, conservative, Republican, whatever you want to call it, independents, libertarian, all that, people who tote the don't be a victim narrative and bastardize the human rights and civil rights leaders and their words, just like you're seeing with some of these so-called presidential candidates and other grifters who are trying to just legitimize what they're doing by bastardizing our civil rights legacy. I don't know what you do with that. Do you ignore him? Do you invite someone like him into a conversation so that he can explain himself? When I listened to that clip, I saw someone who was struggling to speak just on the spot about very complex issues. because he hasn't really had to think about how to frame those issues up and to say those things out loud to have the impact that he wants to have. And I think that his schoolwork and things that he's doing, that's great, that's fine. And I need him to do more of it. Every Black person in America ain't gonna be able to tutor every other Black kid in America. Part of the issue is that we are struggling with so many freaking things, including our own families and our own jobs, that we can't be pulling up everybody by the bootstraps. I mean, that is the case for reparations and making sure that the individual families who have been harmed by the last 250 years of this nation have the resources that they need to get the enrichment opportunities that they need for their family, including paying that $6,000, for example, that Kemp provides to students so that they can go to a non-public school. So anyway, feel like I'm rambling a little bit. Also kind of irritated. Not sure why. But anywho, thanks for the space, and I'll go back to listening.
Thank you, Denise. Don't get irritated, though. Let me go ahead real quick and go to Tammy. Tammy, go ahead and unmute your mic.
Like I said, I worked with him for a little while, and a lot of his funding comes from his church. I spoke with his pastor, so he has a lot of support for the school, but he didn't want to take any government funding, and that was our issue. And when I tried to talk with him, Denise, you said try to talk. He can't be talked to. He did several interviews. He did one with Roland Martin. If you hadn't seen it, that would be a good interview to just look at. But we went back and forth, and I tried to explain to him, it's money that not only would be beneficial to you, but the education system, it has billions of dollars, $10 billion, for school dropouts. I know that he has adopted 2 of the kids, so they stay with him. He also, all the kids, it's all free. And his city of Albany went back and forth publicly. That would be something to go look at too, because I actually called the city commissioner at Albany and told them, stop airing out dirty laundry on this minority, and I hate to use the word minority but on someone who's trying to do something good for your city. So I don't think he would listen, actually. I think that he's going to have some growing pains, and that is unfortunate. And that's why I kind of stepped back from it. He stopped following me because I was too radical in what I would say, and that's okay. I still support him, but someone anybody who is successful and don't understand that they don't know it all is not going to make it very far, very quickly. We all can benefit from knowing, something about everybody else. I also want to comment on something about Black history being taught in school. Y'all, we didn't learn Black history in schools ever. So let's not get on top of him about some Black history in schools. If you want to talk about some Black history being taught in school, then go to your local area and demand it. We don't. I didn't learn about Emmett Till in school. In fact, the only person I learned about was Christopher Addison and Martin Luther King. I had to do my own research.
Don't forget Rosa Parks.
Rosa Parks, right? So let's not do that.
Now that they moved on to Beyonce.
So a lot of this, and then we'll pull our kids out of the school and send them to a Catholic school, and we know they ain't gonna learn nothing about no Black history. So stop doing that. It's our responsibility, and who wants them to teach their Black history to our kids? Because they don't know it. Okay? They don't know it. We know our Black history, and we don't need to teach it. We need to assign, let's read. Because a lot of the stuff that I've learned, nobody taught me that. I had to go can learn it. And that's what we have to charge it. But let's get off of him and teach it all this Black history until we demand it be taught in public schools. We demand that it has a budget in public schools. The education system has billions of dollars that are going to unhealthy lunches. We'll come out and do that. But anyway, that's what I want to say.
Okay, Tammy, I'm going to have to push back a little bit on what you just said, because now the brother has his own school. So it's one thing when white folks don't teach you Black History Month, but for a brother who's talking about empowerment and manhood and this and that or whatever, why wouldn't he teach in his school? Why wouldn't he talk about the story of Emmett Till, a young Black man that was killed? I mean, it's one thing if you go into a school that, you know, is majority white, or, you know, is funded by white folks or this or that. But I'm trying to figure out, why wouldn't he in his own school talk about it? And that's the thing that we talk about. That, yeah, we went to schools that were controlled by white folks. So if a school that's controlled by a young Black man who's supposed to be about empowerment and everything else, why wouldn't he actually try to teach other Black men about a story about something that, you know, really changed the course of history, American history, world history? Hold on. So well, you're saying that we should get off him. Well, nobody got on him. We were talking about, for the simple fact that he said he wasn't taking the kids to see the actual movie Till, because basically it was about Black trauma and victim. It was about Black trauma, and he didn't want them to see that image of constantly Black people being downtrodden and this and that or whatever. So that he came up with that. And my thing was this: I would say, well, you know, if you don't want them to see it, then, you know, go ahead and tell them the story about it, teach them the history behind what actually happened with it. Now, it seemed like you have a problem with that, because I see you putting your thumbs down, but I'm just trying to figure out, why would you have an issue with a Black young man that actually went ahead and I'm sure that he's getting funding. You say his church. I'm pretty sure his church is majority Black. I'm pretty sure most of the people that donated to his church are Black. So what would be the issue behind an actual Black man trying to go ahead and, you know, educate young Black men on something that could have happened to them had they been born 50, 60 years earlier? I mean, I'm just trying to figure that out.
His church is not Black, it's white. His pastor is white. They are very supportive. He is a very conservative person, and I'm pushing back on it because just because he chooses not to teach them this at this point, we don't know the ages, we don't know the curriculum, we don't know, because of a movie or because of what he said. I didn't know all of that, but I still saw leaders. He's walking, they're watching him in an empowering role. They are watching him be a strong Black person who created a school, who takes care of them, who has them on a schedule. They wake up at 6:30 every morning, have Bible study. It is relegated. So I think maybe invite him on, you know, and not be so against, and I'm not saying everybody's against it, but ask him some of these questions, and maybe he will learn something. But I think a lot of comments are being made and without the knowledge of what the school actually.
Okay, so Tammy, what's the age range at the school?
Middle schoolers.
So you're saying that middle schoolers are too young to actually hear the actual history behind Emmett Till?
Well, if they can't read and write, some of them come from pretty rough neighborhoods and try. And what I'm saying.
But I'm saying, okay, but I'm saying to actually, even if they went to the actually movie theater to see it, you don't have to be able to read or write to actually see an actual movie or a documentary on what happened with Emmett Till.
And you don't have to learn about Emmett Till.
It may not be good for them to experience that.
But a lot of us, I was in middle school when I heard about Emmett Till. So let me ask y'all a question real quick. Because real quick, for the Black people that was actually back in the 1950s, that actually was going through a lot of this, seeing the lynching, seeing the hanging, seeing the shooting, seeing the beatings, seeing people being whooped, getting their behinds whooped on actual marches and everything else. For the Black people, were those kids, because they got the actual real deal. Now, I'm not saying show them the actual Jet magazine cover with the boy's face bashed up and everything like that. But I'm saying, were all those Black kids that saw that, Were they too traumatized to actually see exactly what happened? Because Emmett Till's mother herself said, go ahead and let's have could you imagine a mother actually saying, let's go ahead and have an open casket so everybody can see it?
Newstoter, they have seen every day, they see that type of trauma, but worse than that, they do see the Emmett Tills. They might not know the history of where it started, but there were some Emmett Tills before Emmett Till. And Mamie Till was a strong, courageous woman who said, and that's when Martin King stepped in. Everybody's saying close the casket. She said, hell no, we're not. That's when TV just started.
Well, Tammy, that's kind of what I'm saying. I'm saying that the people back then, but that's what I'm saying. The people back then, they didn't say, well, you know what, we're too traumatized to talk about Emmett Till. We're too traumatized. They were the ones, they went through worse than what anybody in this space has actually went through, if we want to be honest about it. They didn't say, well, you know what, oh my God, life is too hard. We can't see this. His mama, if anybody in the world should have been like, well, I can't see my baby like that. It should have been his mama, but his mama said, no, I want the entire world to see it. And not only that, Jet Magazine made sure that they put it on the front cover of the actual magazine. Now we're sitting up here saying that, hey, Emmett Till is the story Emmett Till, which has been talked about for the past 60 years, that it is too traumatized. Now we sound like the white folks in the critical race theory. Now we sound like them saying, well, you know, things, hold on. Yeah, we do sound like that. Now we're saying that, you know what? Because that's what white folks say. They like, well, that's too traumatizing, this and that. Now you're saying that, hey, we can't even talk about the actual story of Emmett Till because it's going to traumatize black folks. We can't even share the story. We can't even let young black men at a school that's supposed to be about, as he say, about manhood. We can't let them understand the history behind something that would go on to reshape this country, which would go on to inspire people. We can't even talk about that because, you know what, it's too hard because they're middle school kids, because they're 12 and 13 and 14-year-olds.
Your opinion noted. Thanks. I'll take it. I receive it.
All righty. Let's go ahead to Queen B was up here. Queen B, you still up here? You got it.
Yes, I'm here. Okay, yeah, I appreciate the conversation. As far as my opinion on King Randall, and thank you, Black, for doing that research on his timeline, because I didn't do that. But I do want to say I think we're all in agreement in terms of commending him for what he is doing. He's out there. He is doing the work. I don't know a lot of the backstory about his school, but I guess the first thing I would say to just the most recent comments, and I heard this is a boarding school, but then I don't know if these children's parents are still in their lives, because I would think this is something where the parents would give permission, like there'd be a permission slip to say, yes, it's okay for my child to see this movie or something like that. But then that's why you have you counterbalance these things. And so, yes, here's this awful thing that happened to Emmett Till, but here's the backstory. And so that's what teaching is. You know how to, you get the information out there. And so I think, I don't know what's going on there with the parents. But what I wanted to say, and this kind of goes just piggybacking off of what Denise said earlier, in these Black conservative circles, and this brother, King Randall, is what we said, he's probably 21, 22, 23 years old. He is probably being mentored by a Larry Elder or maybe, a Bob Woodson. I mean, it could be one of those situations. So if those are the people who are influencing him, then I can understand that's what his mindset would be. But I was thinking about those donors. We don't know what those donors, what type of restrictions they may be putting on him in terms of his curriculum. I don't know if they have a say in the content of his curriculum. And I'm kind of thinking, I don't know, in these conservative circles, they're, like you just mentioned, critical race theory, that's kind of like a boogeyman thing to them now. And they might be telling this brother, stay away from that content, stay away from the victimhood stuff or whatever they feel. They may be defining that program. And so he's going along with it because these are his donors. So again, those are just things that we don't know the full story. I don't know if maybe the young lady who was just speaking, maybe she knows more about that. But I'm just being an observer or being on the outside looking in, and just from the information that I've been hearing and gathering, it could very well be that these donors are, maybe are telling him, stay away from anything having to do with this reparations conversation. If his donors are primarily white and conservative, well, we know they don't want that going on in the public schools, but in the private schools where they can control your money and your dollars a little bit more, that might be one of the factors to how he's shaping his program, as well as what's shaping him as a young man, being in his early 20s. Again, I think he could be mentored by Larry Elder or something. And I do agree with the young lady, I think her name was Disruptor. I think it would be good to invite him into one of our spaces and have a conversation with him. I think a lot of times, especially if he is being influenced by a Larry Elder or somebody, kind of going back to what Fred was saying earlier, quoting Malcolm and Martin, and we know a lot of times people will, especially with Martin, they will go to that content of the character first, and they'll just put that out there like that's the only thing that Dr. King ever said, and forget about everything else that Dr. King said. So, I just think maybe there's still opportunity. He's a young man, and for him to learn a little bit more about reparations, the movement. I mean, who knows? He might not really even know. Because a lot of people, especially conservatives, they get stuck on our reparations claim only being about slavery. And that's the reason why, at least in my opinion, their most common excuse is, well, there's nobody who's a slave today now. So that seems to be where they're stuck on our claim. And they don't ever talk about the subsequent harms that have happened. Just like they forget about that. And so I hear a lot of conservatives that still continue to use that argument. And so again, I'm just saying he's just a product of his environment. If he's hanging out with conservatives or white conservatives, I don't know. That could be very well, who is shaping his opinions and his thought process. And why he may at sometimes feel like he can't say everything that he might want to say, because of the money and where that money's coming from, and who, and for fear that, or whatever, that, that could be a detriment to what he's trying to do. And thank you again, Newstoter, and I'll land.
All right. Thank you, Queen B. Fred, I'm going to get to you real quick. I see we got a new speaker, Trouble. So let me get to Trouble real quick. Trouble, how you doing tonight?
Hey, everybody. How y'all doing up in the space tonight? Shout out to everybody. Newstoter, how you doing, brother?
What's going on, Trouble?
Not a whole lot. I don't know how I got on the stage. I must have accidentally hit the button when I was traveling.
Oh, okay. So you want us to put you down, or?
No, I'm here now. Look, I'm here now.
She's been spilling for about 15 minutes.
Real quick though, because it's a lot of hands, especially before me. So, Dr. Phil, I'm not gonna have too much to comment on him because I'm at a place in my mind and in my heart where I'm tired of white people having the I don't care about their opinions on what they think about our reparations claim, whether they understand it, whether they feel as if we deserve it, or I don't even care about the figures and numbers that they come up with in their mind of what they think about it. So that's that on that. Akon in Africa, I told you all what I thought about him the last time we were in a space. He needs to stop focusing on Black Americans coming to Africa to build Africa up. That is not our home. This is. We're tired of being used. He needs to recall his African brothers and sisters who came here to get educated and call them back to Africa to utilize their skills there and create some stuff for them over there. King Randall. I think that there's a lot of brothers, and I don't know this brother. I've seen him online. I've seen some of the things that he says. Some things okay, most things but I don't think, I'm not going to give him the excuse that he's young. That's not no excuse. There's just some people who we have good conservatives that are conservatives and they get it. And then we have the conservatives who are just in it to grip off of the white man's iced tea is colder type thing. And I think that's where that brother is headed. I don't think that he's ignorant in any ways to what reparations is, what it needs to be. You have some Black folks who don't look at Black history as anything other than victimhood. Of course, we've never really fully been taught history the proper way. But if you understand and if you know that when it comes to the curriculums that go inside schools, you know that I posted an article probably back in 2016 that was stating how the Koch brothers, and most of you all know who the Koch brothers is and their group, they bid on the curriculums. And so his group of investors bidded on the curriculums for English, history, math, whatever, and they won the bid in 24 states within the United States. So they are able to curate whatever history goes in the books, whatever English lessons goes into those plans, and whatever what have you when it comes to the rest of those subjects. So when you say, well, why don't we go and demand that they teach our history, there's a little bit of nuance to that because it's coming from certain groups who have to bid to put that in there. It's a big money business to a certain degree. So it would be nice if the brother had a school where he was trying to implement some real Black history in there. Unfortunately, like I said, we got Black people who don't look at our history as being something that is needed to make it in this world. They look at it more of a hindrance, that victim mentality, and they would rather teach them about the great white folks who came through history. And that's just the reality of that. And I'll land.
All right. Thank you, Trouble. Let me go ahead and get to Fred. Fred, go ahead and unmute your mic.
Can y'all hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah. One thing I would like there's some terms that I'd like for Black Americans to stop using. One is grifter, when you're referring to some Black man who did not get his money from the government. If you get some Black man and he puts up some type of project and people fund it on their own free will, let's not use that term grifter. That's a term that's, is too vague. It can be hijacked and, basically try to sidetrack movements. Second, when we're talking about liberal and conservative, that does not exist. What we need to do is just basically come up with the idea. And if you agree with the idea, just say, I agree with that. Stop trying to put yourself in a category called conservative, liberal, libertarian, and all that. Third, when it comes to these, like him taking these kids to go see the Emmett Till movie, there's many Black people today, especially Black males. We done faced racism and possibly ran a risk of being the next Emmett Till today. Take a look at Tamir Rice, So therefore, you can never teach a Black male child, even female, because just look at that McKinney, Texas incident where that little sister was getting drugged down by that Klansman. So you can never be too young to introduce Black children to the threat of white supremacy. I'm mute.
All right. Thank you, Fred. Let me go ahead and get to Rella, and then we got you, Denise, as well. Rella, go ahead.
So again, all of us if you have children and you've been in the school system, and you understand that most of the curriculum is dictated by legislation. So if Randall has a connection to Kemp, more than likely Kemp or the people who have actually voted on what they're going to be teaching in schools, that's the curriculum they're going to follow. If the parents want their children to learn about Emmett Till, they have to get involved with legislation because legislation dictates the curriculum for the schools in the states. My young seedling would benefit from learning from Emmett Till, but it would have to be catered to whatever grade that they're in, right? So you're not going to go full out and be like, here's some pictures of what happened to Emmett Till to a second, third grader, first grader, kindergartner. It has to be teachable to the children depending on their grade level. Middle school, these kids are doing stuff that some of us be in here, if you really want to talk about it, you don't know your child probably know about oral sex before you even have a chance to teach them. The other thing is we're living in today's time. We're not living in yesteryears, in that we can't curtail and try to capture our children and preserve their innocence. But I think there's a way to do it. And again, most of us are not showing up anyway when it comes to the curriculum on a national level by the states based on the people you vote for. They only pander to you when it's time for the election because none of y'all really know or happen to know what's on the ballots or what it is they're going to actually be voting for to go on to the curriculum in the schools. So, you know, we can have a difference of opinion, but again, it's just an opinion until you actually go and find out what is King Randall actually teaching his students. Does he have a committee or somewhere for people whose children are in his schools set up where he actually talks to the parents about what the curriculum is for the school? That's how you solve that. The other thing is, do we really? Let me say this. There's no easy way to say this. We all need to make sure that we get to a point where we can have these discussions and that, like Fred said, people who are developing and creating things, that we're able to support them. Whether they're Republican or conservative, the only thing I'm not going to do is you're not going to degrade my people asking for support from me. That's not going to happen. And, you know, just as much as everybody talked about Stacey Abrams, Brian Kemp did the same thing, except he just didn't vocalize it. Brian Kemp didn't have on his platform, he didn't have community initiatives for Black Americans specifically together where he broke down how he was going to assist and help with the community. But we didn't point that out. We only pointed out what Stacey Abrams did, and even down to the point calling her, you know, big fat nasty or whatever it is that people were calling her. But you had Brian Kemp doing all kinds of shit because he's for immigration. We kind of look past everything else. And I mean, honestly, we need to have it all. Immigration is only a piece of the pie. It's maybe a huge piece of the pie because it affects greatly, but it's not enough. And it damn sure doesn't actually speak to the reparative issues in any other state, as well as Georgia. If you have people in positions that are running for office and they don't have our best interests and they pick and choose. They picking and choose. Now, after hearing Tammy say that his pastor, he got a white pastor.
A white church. A white church.
A white church and a white pastor. I'm hoping that they're not using that his school to funnel little children. And I don't mean to put that out there, but I'm gonna put that out there.
Well, I'm gonna say this right here. You know, I don't know. Without going and putting that in there, you know, I don't know all about that, brother. You know, I'm not gonna touch up on that because we don't know that. I don't know. I just want to put that out there that real quick, Rella. I just want to put that out there. We don't know anything about that. You know, we haven't heard anything. We haven't heard any complaints, anything at that school about that right there. Now, if you say that you don't know if they're using him for agenda or something like that, that's one thing. But you know, I'm not. We can't just put that out there. But go ahead.
So all I'm gonna say is, if people, I think, want to again really get involved, maybe people need to go visit down at the school, speak to them, and say, "Hey, we would like to support you in some sort of way. Can we take a tour of your school?" But I'm gonna have my little antler ears up, and hopefully the young men that he is teaching and that he is actually producing and getting out into the world also have a full view of our society and what's happening to us as the Black Americans, not just because he doesn't want to talk about history. to middle schoolers. So there it is.
Let me jump in for a second, y'all, because I haven't listened to everybody in this space, so I kind of want to just jump in for a little bit. I'm basically have gotten tired of hearing about this kid. Really don't give a damn about him, really, to be honest with you. Now, if y'all want to take a tour on over there to find out about this kid, go over there. I'm more concerned about people that keep coming in, putting their mouth on the reparations issue. So I'm going to go back to Dr. Phil, because that's more concerning to me. And the reason why it's more concerning to me with that issue, because we got Black Americans that got money that can do some changes. And I'm not talking about this son of a bitch we talking about now, because he don't affect shit, really. But I'm talking about people like Oprah Winfrey, see, that's giving platforms away to white people who now own major platforms. See, that's a problem. See, that's a problem. This kid that y'all talking about, that's minuscule, if you really want to know the truth. It is an issue, but it's minuscule. But the issue is Black Americans who got platforms like Oprah Winfrey, who's giving away platforms to white people who are now using their platforms against us. I would hope y'all will find that more pressing than anything. And I'm going to land my plane there.
Can I say this? I put a video in the Jumbotron Newstoter, you guys, and it's a Black Republican. Looks like he's at one of the GOP speaking engagements, and he talks about how we owe reparations to we owe reparations to our country. Our country doesn't owe reparations to us.
Yeah, I had heard something about some stupid stuff like that before.
Are you talking about that Lieutenant Governor Mark Robinson?
The black guy?
Yeah, big bald-headed black motherfucker in North Carolina.
Yeah, is that where he's from? And he says that your ancestors sacrificed and took lashings on the back. I'm sitting here thinking, every time I hear somebody say that our people sacrificed, our people did not sacrifice nothing. They were forced into destitution and literally genocide. Nobody asked no one to do that. Excuse me, we're going to sacrifice ourselves so you can beat, maim, and rape us and then breed us to oblivion and steal our children like cattle. And he says, I told a liberal person that no one owes you reparations. You owe reparations to this country.
That's Mark Robinson. Yes, that punk fat motherfucker said that shit because he's running for governor and he's kissing the ass to them damn caucasoids that was sitting up in that room. And I'm going to tell you where he got that talking point from. I said it earlier. He used it from Larry Elder because he was one of the first son of a bitches that went out there and said that. Larry Elder, back here a few years ago, because he was running for president out there, he was out there, of course, from California. And he was running his mouth to his constituents or white people that he liked to kiss ass to. And he said, well, yes, we shouldn't be asking for reparations. If anything, the southern white plantation owners, they owe reparations because they took losses after the Civil War. That's what he said. As a matter of fact, y'all, that was on a radio interview. Excuse me. He actually did that on a radio interview. And he told those people at that interview that he feel like that we shouldn't be asking for reparations, that we, if anything, the white people owe back reparations. That's what he said. This was done with Larry Elder. He did it before this coon that we got in here now, up there in North Carolina, Mark Robinson. Okay, so see, this is what I'm talking about. I said it earlier in the space. We got too many FBA blacks that are actually killing our reparations movement. It's really not the non-FBAs. The hell with the non-FBA. It's these FBAs. Because these are the ones that the American white people listen to. If y'all ever notice, white people will listen to the Tim Scotts. Oh yeah, the Candace Owens. All right. Who else? Who else? We can
But the only problem with that, Professor, is that white people listen to anything. If they can get a few black people, and that's always been the case, even when you were talking about affirmative action and equality, if you could get a few black people to go ahead and get on their side, they're gonna always pump these people up and listen to them. That's one reason somebody like Charles Barkley they respect and they love, because they know Charles Barkley is going to talk against anything that you can do for black people. So a lot of them love Charles Barkley. Yeah, so they
and Charles Barkley is the one that I really despise the most, y'all, because he truly represents me in some aspects as a black man, of course, but he also graduated from the same university that I graduated from. So see, this nigga, that knacker, DJ's term, that knacker, it really hurts me the most because he's from here. He's from Alabama, right up the road from in Leeds, Alabama, and went to the same school. You know, like we both graduated from Auburn University, and he's one of the major, what you call major donors to the Auburn University basketball and football. But he has a big platform. Charles Barkley is a real recognized person all over, man. A lot of people know who this dude is. And a lot of white people listen to what he has to say. So this is what's concerning to me, y'all, is the FBA black Americans that come from poor backgrounds like we do, right? Like Charles Barkley, right there in Leeds, Alabama, y'all. That's a poor city. Shit, I wish y'all would come up there and look at that shit. It's a hellhole. That's what it looks like. But anyway,
yeah,
I'm
real.
glad my plane there because I just wanted to jump in for a minute, dude. So I ain't mean to take it over.
Yeah, real quick. I was gonna say,
Can I just say something real quick and then I'll jump off? I just wanted to Professor's point, because this is what I was gonna say earlier a couple hours ago. And this is being done on purpose. This is being done purposefully. And Larry Elder, he came out and said he was running for president, and he said he was doing that because he wants to make a point. And didn't really say exactly what that was, just kind of read between the lines, but kind of like, well, my father, he worked hard all his life. So his point is going to be to come out and talk against us. That's his point. So like I said, this is not happening, randomly or whatever. This is being orchestrated at this point and this time for a specific reason. And I'll land. Thank you.
All right. I'm going to get to Black Native and Fred. Black Native, go ahead and unmute your mic.
Thank you, Newstoter. This is a good conversation. I was sitting in the listening section for quite some time. I just want to say, do you notice all of these people who are coons have a specific look about them? They don't wear a mustache, and most of them have their head shaved bald. They try to look not non-threatening as possible, and that's done on purpose. You just have to look at that, and I've noticed that years ago. Larry Elders, Charles Barkley, Tim Scott, the other black man who's running for the lieutenant governor here in North Carolina. I think I saw a little bit of that video. I'm gonna watch the whole thing because I'm here in North Carolina. So yeah, we need to know who this man is. Talking about white people we should be paying white people for reparations. These people sound fucking crazy. I just want to know, when are we going to put an end to these? I mean, not threatening, not violence or whatever, but how do we stop these people? Because it seems like these people, like the sister said, it's done on purpose, and they're given a large platform and spew this nonsense. And I hope they don't think all black Americans think like that. I know they can't possibly think like that, but it's like they're our mouthpiece. Well, we don't fuck with these people. How many black Americans if they're not conservative, coon conservatives, mess with Larry Elders or Charles Barkley? And another thing I noticed, all of them are in interracial relationships. They're married to white women. Malcolm X said that's what they do. They get a black person. They never get a black person who's in a relationship with another black person. They get a black person who's in an interracial relationship with a non-black person because they don't have an allegiance to us. Their allegiance is somewhere else now. So all of these people are married to white women, and this is what we get, and they have a large platform, like they speak for us. I'm tired of these people. Like, we should have been G-checked them years ago, because they're running rampant right now. These niggas is just, excuse my French, these Negroes is off the chain. And they have too much power, and they have too much, and they're saying too much, and like they're speaking for us, and they're holding us back. And that's all I want to say on that. Thank you.
All right. Let me go ahead and get to Fred. Fred, go ahead and unmute your mic.
Remove my name from that tweet, Toter. Remove my name from that tweet.
What tweet you talking about? What tweet is she talking about?
I don't know what you talking about. Tell me I'm went crazy.
She done went something. I don't know what tweet you talking about.
The pushback on Black Native, because you know she quick to say black men marrying it, but these white black female conservatives are married to white men too. So let's put both of them.
Hey, real quick. Hey, real quick, because we got Fred waiting. Let me let Fred get up here and speak real quick. Fred, go ahead and unmute your mic.
All right, can you hear me? Yeah, go ahead, bro. Okay. When I hear them talk about a lot of these black, first of all, Candace Owens is an immigrant. She's not one of us. And if you look at the Congressional Black Caucus,
she is one of us, bro. She has.
No, she ain't. Not
go look for lineage. Go look for lineage.
Let me tell you why. All skin folk ain't kinfolk. So no, she ain't. She's got too much allegiance to the island, and then she came over here and she spews white supremacist talking points. So now, once you get to the blacks that they keep trying to prop up to speak for us, we should be happy when they do that, because we'll know who not to fuck with. But see, here's the thing. If you listen to the black grassroots, most of us come from a lineage that's owed reparations by the U.S. So we don't really have to give a damn about the rest of them that come up there and don't speak our interests. See, one thing I never could understand is how can black folks live in a majority black city or in a black area like where Marcel's at, and he don't win? That's what I like. Stuff like that I don't understand, because if you listen to their campaign speeches, you will know that Marcel is actually trying to do something to change your condition. When you look at somebody like a Clyburn, he's no different than Larry Elder. He's no different than Charles Barkley if he was running. He's no different than Armstrong Williams. So one thing they have to do is, like, if you're in a majority black area, you guys, we have to come up with the policies and let them come and do what we send them out there to do. Stop looking for people who have, well, I'm a conservative, I'm a liberal. To hell with all that. Tell them, say, look, this right here is the criteria. So far, like I said, the only politician I've seen, period, that's got an agenda that I would even look at, would deal with, is Marcel. He literally wrote it down. So if they can't do what Marcel did, they don't need no support from none of us. And if you're living in like I said, in a majority black area, and you have somebody like that running, every one of y'all should be back on the damn plantation. If they don't go for Marcel, hook, line, and sinker. Now I'm mute.
Well, Fred,
all right. Real quick, Black Native. Tammy, I can't delete that tweet, so you need to go ahead and let that person know if you want them to go ahead and delete that tweet. So I have no ability to delete somebody else's tweet. Go ahead real quick, Black Native.
Why do you think Jim Clyburn won? Because from what I saw, he just had a fish fry, and he's been there for 30 years. I'm not from South Carolina, but I have heard of the man, and they still put him in office, even though it wasn't, and he didn't have anything for the best interest of the black people in South Carolina. So what is it that made black people who are still, nothing has changed, because Marcel said should still say, what made them vote for this man? Is it because he's been there for 30 years and it's somebody that they know and they don't want something new and fresh? What made them decide to vote for the same man that hasn't done shit for 30 years but give fish fries and collard greens when he's running for election?
I can speak to that. I was on his executive.
Okay, hold on, Rella. I just want to know, what is the mindset of our people where we keep doing the same thing over and over and over again?
I got you. I can speak to that. I was on Marcel's executive campaign team. Was one of the persons. We had a whole entire team. We went down to South Carolina. We surveyed. We know about the voting rolls. The issue was the people were not aware. The community was not enough foot soldiers on the ground. When we sat on Twitter for months trying to get people to come down and help out to actually get the community aware of what was going on. We also had background things that were also happening. So again, when people have questions and they want answers, you can't just assume that one thing that you say is how it goes. When you actually join a campaign to help someone run, there is so much that goes into developing a campaign and being on a campaign team. You don't realize that you have a lot of groundwork to do with the community. And if your campaign person is not connected with all the organizations, and like Clyburn, they were having virtual committees meetings that they have all over the country when you're running for office. These are county committee meetings that is open to the public. There were barely any of the community citizens that are living in the community at these meetings. Why? Because Clyburn and I want to say South Carolina district chair are in bed with each other, and they make deals with each other because he's been there for 30 years. 30 years. He only did stuff that like bought computers for one school. And like when you hear these people talk about Clyburn, they don't talk about Clyburn as if he's done such great things. They talk about him as, oh, look, he shows up to do the fish fry like Black Native said, but he gave computers to this one school. And the whole time he campaigned outside of his county, outside of South Carolina. Most of his donations came from people outside of South Carolina. He wasn't even in South Carolina for his money because the people in South Carolina are hurting. They're hurting economically. And if you don't,
I had spoke to Marcel, and we held a space together. And I asked him what has changed, and he said not a damn thing.
Nothing. And then when we did the we were asking people to help out with the phone banking. That was difficult, and it was only difficult because it wasn't coming from the people in South Carolina. We went up to Bennett College and another college down there. We thought we would be able to go to U.S. College, and they damn near threw us off the campus because they tried to say, oh, well, you got to have an appointment to be here, right? All the while, they had this big ass sign. They got this big ass sign downtown that said, please donate to support and help Ukraine. In the 6th district of in Charleston. No, I think it was Charleston. Damn, Columbia. We were all over the damn place. All I'm gonna say is that in all these places, you need support. You need people to get offline and get on the ground and to help get the community rallied up. The people in South Carolina are beat down. They're beat down, and you can see how they have redistributed the money in the city that we were in near USC. You have downtown that looks all nice and well, and as soon as you cross over one street, it just looks worn down. Like you can just see the way that the money is being ciphered and put out for a particular area of people. And it was very sad, very, very sad. And that was it was a stressful thing, but I would do it again. But I would definitely say that more people need to be involved. Marcel could have won had more people in South Carolina been ready to fight for themselves and for their repair in their community in the 6th district, versus them actually wanting to keep voting for Clyburn just because his name is known in the community. We sometimes are the reason why things are happening, and we don't want to admit that. We run from it. And I land.
All right. Real quick, Fred. I got you. I'm gonna get to you. Guys up there in the Jumbotron, the 5th one to the right. We keep getting people subscribing to the YouTube channel tonight. So shout out to everybody who has subscribed. So we get a couple more because the space is not going to go on much longer. The 5th one on the right-hand side, is a YouTube link up there. So please go ahead. Everybody's flooded the Jumbotron with stuff, but the 5th one on the right-hand side, please, if you can, go ahead and subscribe to the YouTube channel as well. We're going to be cutting this, get out of the space in a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and the next couple people that want to speak, go ahead and raise your hand because we're not going to go too much longer. We've been going since 7 o'clock tonight. So I got Fred and anybody else. We'll take a couple more speakers for tonight. So go ahead and raise your hand because we're going to be closing the space out shortly here. Also, if you guys want to donate on Cash App, $, Newstoter, $Newstoter. So Fred, go ahead and unmute your mic.
All right, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
All right. Now, to the young lady who said that she worked on Marcel's campaign, how many black radio stations do y'all have down there?
You might have to ask Relic.
I don't know how many radio stations that are down there, but there's a lot. And we actually hit the radio stations up. Some of them didn't even want to actually pay to play because you have to have money.
Okay, so now here's my thing. Now, if I'm a black man, just like I say, I can't hide that. So if there's some candidate that's coming with a platform like Marcel did, don't you know, to hell with how much a radio station costs, I would put that man up there for free. So what I'm trying to understand is what the hell, like the mentality of a black area like that, and they vote to stay in damn shackles. That much I just can't understand. Like, see, I understand that there's a lot of groundwork that has to be done, but when somebody's coming with a message like that and the man wrote it out what he was going to do, I don't see how in the hell people wasn't out there stopping for him for free. I would have reached in my own damn pocket to get him an ad played on a radio station. See, that's like this is what I'm saying. When you like, okay, what would be the excuse now if he don't win? See, these are my questions.
Well, here's the thing about it. Clyburn had the name, he had the money behind him. So, but between having the name, having the money, and also they did little tricky things as well to keep Marcel's name off of certain ballots and everything like that as well too. They misspelled his name, and you're going against somebody. You're going against the actual machine in the Democratic Party because they sent Kamala Harris, I believe, down there a week or two before the election. So you had to go against all of that as well too.
Well, what would be the excuse now? Is what I'm saying.
I don't know.
It would be the same thing, and the same thing now would be if the people don't show up, you have no chance to because Clyburn, his daughter, and his family. Now he's not running again the next time. He's putting up his son or nephew or whoever that William Reed is him, and they have the connections. That means they have the connections to the radio stations. They have the connections to the people down in the different organizations. The problem is that the people in the community it has to get the information, and it has to be done from groundwork. Marcel is already doing what he needs to do in regards to getting his name up there more and meeting with different people in his local community. So again,
things are going to be different, but without the help of the public and funding, it's going to be there. It's going to get hard. It's not easy. Now, that white man, that trucker, he won.
Do you think that the elections, that it was rigged? Do you think, because you said that Clyburn didn't even campaign in his county, he was on the outside. So do you think a lot of those black people that claim that he got their votes, that he really didn't get their votes?
If all you need is a particular number of people to vote for you, and those people are known to always vote for you, you're going to win. That's what Clyburn banked on. That's why he didn't feel the need to want to actually campaign in the 6th district. He showed up at the last minute when Marcel was gaining traction, and then all of a sudden he started to move around and remind people, that he has the connections. Marcel needed a specific number of people to win, and he didn't get that number. That's what you have to do to win, regardless of the machine. You have to know the number, and I think Teslin talked about that. You run for office, figure out how many people vote. That's the number you have to beat. Period. Because you're going to find challenge. I mean, they were threatening his life. The shit was bad. And I want to tell you all, Marcel was not the only candidate we were supporting. And everyone that we supported didn't even talk like Marcel, but they were in the same vein. And people didn't want to them. William Somerville in California. Tamara Sheely Johnson. I mean, listen, if you do not know how to read someone's agenda and you cannot point out where you fall on their agenda as a repair and how people are representing you, you need to find out and talk to these people and have them make adjustments. If they're not willing to make adjustments and recognize you and what needs to be done with the community, they are not the people for you. But everyone is not going to sound like Marcel. But they can have the same name and they can have the same makeup as far as a repair in their agenda. Marcel is a one of a kind, and there's no one like him. We all are one of a kind, and we all can add to this build. I don't like people pushing that we need someone to sound like Marcel. Marcel is a different breed of person, and not all of us have that lingo and that swagger that he has, but we have our own, and that too is worth something.
All right, let me go ahead. I see Mr. Engaging is up here. Mr. Engaging, what's up? Go ahead and unmute your mic.
Hey, what's up, family? I definitely want to build upon what was being talked about recently, because that's what got me onto the stage. I opened up a space earlier talking about should Negro American people or Black people, just for the sake of the room, the ones in Mississippi, should they want to leave, or should there be an exodus? They're creating their own policies. They got their own type of court system going on. Should they exit out of the state because they're not being represented and stuff of that nature? And if there's people that do want to opt out and leave, what are the tools and the resources to help them sustain that so that they can take refuge? Like, you got women with children that's there. You got, like, it seems like that's an environment that's for scrap, if you get what I mean. Or like a lot of I say conflict, if you get what I mean. I think that just like wrestling, you got some people on the ropes, if you get what I mean. When you got your partner that's down, you got some people that's reaching out that might want to go down there, like, regulate, if you get what I mean. You might have some brothers and sisters with that type of mentality and wouldn't mind going down there for 2 or 3, 4 or 5 years down to some of these areas that are a little problematic and try to straighten things out. If you get what I mean? I really think we need to be utilizing our own resources amongst ourselves and see where we can get the right people to match up to the right fight, instead of making everybody go to a fight that they might not be ready to combat. If you get what I'm saying? All
right. I'm a little bit on because I was thinking that you was about to touch up on the actual topics. It sounded like you were saying something about migration almost or whatever.
Yeah. When the people were talking about the migration and the guys of how they were moving, were saying that should they move and stuff of that nature, and basically with the injustice that's been going on in some of these areas and communities, some of those were some of the solutions, and that's what I was bringing up and discussing as well. To add on to what One Love Black Sons, the One Love lady, Black, was discussing about, just to build upon, because that's what kind of caught my attention as well as the topics.
Okay, yeah, that's we'll have to probably cover that in another space. But that's something that Black Majority State he speaks on heavily right there about the actual migration and everything else as well too. So that's something we'll definitely have to get on in another space. I guess with that note, we're gonna go ahead and get ready to close this space out for the night as well, too, y'all. So let me just go ahead and thank everybody for coming into space. We had a bunch of people that subscribed to the YouTube channel tonight, so I want to thank everybody who did that. Peace to all you guys on this Sunday night for joining us in this discussion as well, too. We will see you guys Monday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So until then, everybody have a good night, and we'll see you guys in.